Recording started. Okay, baby. Welcome to the show, the first show. We got my boy John over here, the first episode of Red Dirt Dialogues. How's it
Oh,
going?
good. I'm feeling pumped. I feel honored to be here for the first one. Probably be my last time here, but it's good to be here.
Nah, you good, man. I was like, let me get somebody that I'm comfortable with. And I know me and you we have conversations back and forth, on Twitter all the time. You say, do you want to introduce you to it? Just put it on there, even though you might get suspended. It's all right.
Funny. We kind of just met based on essentially I just shit post on almost everything you do between Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is I pride myself on trying to find the perfect GIF for anybody's post. And that just gets to a point where I just do it so often, people are like expecting me to. And then we actually started to interact, and then we turned into the stereotypical Instagram real friends where you just get like 50 of them a day to where I feel like I need to apologize. And then I don't care. And then I guess after a point, like my big joke was you had a profile picture where you had you were trying to pose all like for your first LP.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was just sitting there and I was like, how do you have so many followers when we kind of like almost post the same stuff? And I was like, he's got the same vibe. And then I got mad one day and I parodied your avatar, and I'm just like, you're just black me.
Yeah. Twins.
And I got to the point, and then I started hearing you wanted to do a show, and I was just like, I mean, if you need a internet outcast, I'd be more than happy to be the test dummy. Emphasis on the dummy.
Nah, man, you're smarter than me. I'll tell you what. I tell you,
man, you killed me right off the bat. Tell you what, you sell propane too, and propane accessories.
Yeah. Bobby, dang it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby. Oh, Bobby,
man. What would you say is your favorite? Do you like Instagram more or Twitter? Which one matches your personality best?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say Instagram's probably more my personality, but Twitter is kind of where Twitter turned into my TV. It's my news now. And so a lot of times if I do something funny on there, I'll just screenshot it and then I'll just move it over to my Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's just because I don't have Facebook anymore. And so I'm just kind of I don't know. I'm kind of in the rebuilding stages of my life right now. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I'd probably say Instagram's more my thing. Cause I'm just it's a little more quiet and it's way more superficial. And Twitter, it's man, that's rolling in the mud with people.
It's fun. That's what I like sometimes.
It is kind of fun. Every now and then the goal is to not get an emotional response to yourself. And once you can kind of start doing that, it gets a little better. Dude, I'm getting there. Not quite there, but I'm getting there.
See, my thing was I used to take things personally. So I had to learn to just because someone disagrees with you, you gotta learn that that's not an attack on you as a person. So I had to learn that for myself. So now I've even got to the point where people can call me all kinds of, man, I got called a Jew yesterday.
The Black Israelites are a thing, and they were the first ones.
All right, so we might be we was Ashkenazi. No, I was playing, but they're not funny. Look, I told you not to
already. You told me to hold off, and you just dove right in. See, I can get away with it because I got a big nose, so people kind of think I'm Middle Eastern, Persian. It kind of depends on how much I go out in the sun.
I was in the fields, but that don't even sound right. God,
were they yours? It's okay if it's yours.
yes. I was in the land of Canaan, but I threw myself off.
But the back is able.
So I noticed you seem to get into trouble a lot on social media. What's that about?
Well, I used to do a podcast with a buddy of mine, and this will actually speed run my my backstory. Yeah, we used to do the classic weekly pop culture thing, and it was this was almost peak time of when like Infinity War, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, all that stuff was coming up. And I was we were starting to do okay. And but I was having the classic, like, I was having, like, everybody kind of knows right now about the whole awakening thing. Like, you kind of start figuring out about the J question. And I was a little Q-tarded for about a year. Because this was back in like 2018, 2019-ish, like right before COVID hit. And so we're doing the podcast, and I was starting to drink a little bit. And then if anybody's seen what's going on with Nick Rekieta, it's I kind of had a fork in the road, but I didn't go quite as far. It was where, like, you have like, you would start drinking on the cast, so you'd start getting a little unhinged. And like I remember one of my peaks was right after Endgame. And I came out of Endgame, I hated it. So it's real fun to watch everybody 5 years later being like, well, it wasn't quite that good. I came out like super annoyed. And then
me and my wife too. We were like, it was okay, but I think what was before Endgame?
Infinity War.
We thought Infinity War was better. So
I think Civil War is like one of the best ones there, and so not to see so many things unresolved was kind of nuts. And then so like I'm doing that, and I'm kind of getting some traction. I started doing this one called like Equilibrium, and because I kind of was against Black Panther, the movie, I like, people kind of thought it was funny to bring me on to an all black panel. But we ended up having like a pretty cool vibe, so we ended up doing it for a while. But it kind of turned into this weird thing where no matter what podcast, and then I ended up on like Robert Storm's a couple times, to a point where like he kicked me off a few times because I was being combative, like in the middle of his streams, and then like
so gets kicked off of every place he goes.
Pretty much. And like, well, but it was funny because like he booted me during a live stream and his chat turned on him. So they brought me back on. And so it got to a point where I was like going on all these things, and I was looking really contrarian for a while, which then if you look at a lot of the takes I had, they've all aged really well. But and then COVID happens. And so now I'm online every week fighting people on Twitter, and it's constantly feeling like I'm losing complete touch with reality, because you feel like everything you say seems to be like combative for some reason. And then like a year later, somebody's spewing your talking points, and you get like, I'm like, is somebody going to apologize or anything? And then, but because of the drinking, I would get just more and more like unhinged. And it got to a point where I'm just like I was starting to look like a crazy person. So then it was just like, okay, I need to just stop. Like it got to like super dark. I unplugged for a while, kind of removed myself from friends and family. So now it's like, I'm like 2 years sober now, and
congratulations.
Thanks. And and it's like cleaning up, got married, bought my first house all within a year.
Awesome.
Kind of, I'm not going to try and make it one of those, but I also like, I was telling my wife that it must be nice that my midlife crisis ended up being me getting sober and becoming a born again Christian.
Hey, it's so that it works, ain't it?
Yeah. So it's like, I just started doing that whole thing. And now, my buddy still does the podcast without me. He has this other guy that's on that we did like a trio. It's called Operation Babel. They still do stuff. It's pretty good. It's missing this guy, but but yeah, the whole thing is I just kind of took a break from it, but I still would really care about what was going on in line. And I have pretty strong opinions, and I like to talk a bunch. And so the whole thing is I'm like, do I really want to try and start my own thing again? I'm like, am I really built for the heat that I've seen a lot of people get? And I'm just like, not really. But now that I'm not drinking and I'm not quite as, I kind of understand more how the internet works. I'm like, whatever. I'll jump in front. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I don't lose it. And you seem to be like really pumped, and I like your vibe. So I was like, yeah, I'll come in here and do my best and not be a train wreck.
You're good in my book. My biggest problem with like folks on Twitter, like I don't mind people disagreeing with me. I kind of want the back and forth sometimes, but the people that are usually in my mentions talking, they're either, I don't want to call them stupid, but they either stupid or bots. I'm like, this person isn't even worth going back and forth with, or like I said, the bots. I'm like, you're not even a real person. I don't even want to waste my energy. I see that a lot of people on Twitter. What they'll do is a bot will respond to the post, and then they'll quote tweet it like it's a real person. And I'm looking, and I'll go to that. I'm like, why did you respond to somebody with no mutual followers and 2 freaking followers? Like, why did you even respond to that?
It is interesting because I think we are at a point like, and I refuse to believe that people aren't kind of feeling the same way. It's like the idea of the bot. It's like that can't really be an excuse. But the thing is like a lot of people I find do act that way. Like, you know, the term truther, conspiracy theorist, free thinker, the awakened, the woke. Like there's so many ways to describe everybody. And the problem is that, and like I'm guilty of it too. Like, dude, today I just got in a whole thing about rabies. Because
what's that about?
I'm kind of a guy. I'm kind of a guy right now that kind of feels like rabies might not actually be real.
Rabies not real. AIDS not real. COVID's not real. Oh man, hold on. God dang, I'm about to get myself killed for this episode.
No, Big Pharma's working on bird flu. We're good.
That was a joke. Those were jokes.
Well, because like I started doing this thing. I follow this guy, Luther Cyrus, I think is his name, and he's like big into the like against the idea of like virus culture. Like a lot of people are more into the terrain theory, and I started looking more into that, where it's like it's not necessarily like a pathogen running around in the air. It's more of like your surroundings and the things you eat and the things you drink, and I mean, I think you see that a lot lately, like with the like fentanyl coming up and the way that people are living. Like COVID really did a lot of that, like being inside more. You just saw people getting more and more sick, and it's like I get to a point where I'm just like I'm looking stuff up, man. Like I'm going more organic stuff. We're like trying to grow stuff. I'm drinking raw milk, like I'm buying it off a farm.
Yeah, I was about to say, where you getting that from?
And so like, and you're getting there like, and then you're like, okay, so what is pasteurization? And it's like, oh, they boil milk. And you're like, well, why? And then you find out it's because, well, what's pasteurized mean? And then there's this dude named Louis Pasteur, who is the reason why we do that, who also happens to be the father of germ theory.
Okay.
Who also is one of the lead guys who did most of the things about rabies. So you're like, wow, this is a weird rabbit hole I end up down. And my dad said something to me when I was super against getting vaccinated, of course, with the COVID stuff, because I'm one of those people. And my dad was actually funny because I'd gotten this cat who I adore. His name's Morty. He's great. And I was just like, he goes, well, if you're so against vaccination, why would you get your cat vaccinated? And I'm like, it's a really good point.
Gotcha.
And so I started to look into it, and it's funny, it didn't go the way he thought. I ended up looking into the idea of over vaccinating animals. And it's so funny, dude. You go down that and it's exactly the same. Same thing as you saw in COVID. The veterinarians who spoke out against heavily vaccinating or multiplying the vaccinations over a course of a year, they were all getting deplatformed. They were losing their licenses. And so you're like, wait, I just saw this in real time. So I'm going to look this over. And it got to a point where it was just like, you know, I can't like 100% say that you shouldn't ever do it. I probably wouldn't if I didn't have to, because there's like some laws where you have to at least get one rabies thing so you can get them their tags and you can deal with all that. But I was like, yeah, they're not going to get multiple ones, and we're not going to try this one, and I can't prove that this is it. And then you look at rabies, and its origin story is almost exactly the same. It's like, oh, it's from a bat, I think in Africa, maybe India, maybe China. And I'm like, that sounds like AIDS. I'm like, is this animal AIDS? And then they're like, well, it just comes from dogs, but you can get it from a scratch, but only from their saliva, but maybe through your eyes. And then I'm like, okay, so then how do you tell if an animal even has rabies? And then they're like, well, you know, if they're foaming at the mouth, if they're sensitive to light or aggressive. I'm like, you mean just an animal that's like fearful? And then I go, okay, well then how do you test it? How do you test if an animal actually has rabies? They're like, well, funnily enough, it's this test. It's this test that you can only do if they're dead.
Yep, gotta cut the head off.
And I'm like, wow, well, that's convenient. And I get it. People are going to get mad and spiral. And I just go like, look, do what you want with your animals. But I'm like, I gave mine the one. I'm like, probably if I ever got another animal, I probably wouldn't unless it was like a necessity. But it's just like, I look into this stuff because I'm just autistic. Like, and I have one of those jobs that you can throw like an earbud in and just listen all day. Yeah. So I'll find a topic and then I'll just download a bunch of podcasts and then I'll just do it for like 10 hours and for multiple days. And people will be like, oh, so you're doing your own research, listening to lectures, huh? On the online. I was like, what do you think you do in college?
Exactly.
You know, and I'm like, I'm getting a crash course. I'm doing it faster.
Mm-hmm. And then the same books they pay for, you can get the same material from the same books. It's weird because people, they down learning from YouTube, and I'm like, do you know those same people you would have read the books from? They now have YouTube channels, and where they will explain most of this stuff, and then if you want to go in depth, you'll buy their book. Like it's
well, and ironically, a lot of them used to be professors or have been removed from their practices, but they're still using all the same stuff they already had. And then the idea is like, well, I read this book. It's like, technically, if you know any medical professional anywhere, they'll tell you half of their techniques, half their books, they're all updated within 5 years usually. So it's like getting a booster now. If you haven't gotten it last week, you're already outdated, you know, and you sit back and it's like, there is this weird thing that, and it's on both sides. Don't get me wrong. It's like all these trigger words and the idea of how, like, the idea of how do you learn seems to be in question in itself. It's like, well, I don't trust the government, but let's vote. But it's like, well, I don't trust schools, but read that book. And it's like, well, but I don't read books, so I listen to the audiobook. And it's like, yeah, dude, I've literally caught crap, like, because like when I first started being coming back to God, my wife and we decided that every weekend we would just read the Bible with her grandma. We would just do that. And so no, nothing, no churches, no nothing. Just read the book for an hour. And then we just talk about whatever we read. And we just did that for like half a year. And it was great. And then like you start talking to anybody about that, it's like, oh, well, here's 9 YouTube videos on somebody's interpretation from 8 different denominations from this different church. And then I would sit there and go, well, you know, I just listened to audio dramas. Like I would just I would download all the Gospel of John or Matthew or whatever. And I would listen to it like twice in a day while I'm working. And they go, well, that doesn't count. And I'm like, for real? Like, we're doing this. And they do that with education too. And it's wild to me. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, my mom, I actually had to take her to not hospital. She had to go to a clinic, get an epidural. And she was asking me, she was like, why did you quit college? I was like, because I was being cheated. I was like, I know when I'm being scammed or I'm being lied to, even if I can't figure out the lie or the scam, I'm like, something ain't right here.
That's big, man. Like discernment's on the rise right now. Like it's big. And it's like, because it was funny because I did get this whole, because I'm down the whole thing. Like I was Q-tarded for a year and then I started listening to Alex Jones. And when I first started, you know, shout out to Mahler and the EFAP crew. Like this was back in Last Jedi times. I found them online, started kind of critically thinking again and seeing them like show that people just lie in real time. And sometimes they don't even know they're doing it, which is like wild to me. And so like, it would get you to question a lot of stuff. And then you start hearing about like 9/11, you know, all the classics. Like seriously, it's the greatest hits of the Truther series.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got to a point where like people would just be like, you know, even my wife did it and I love her because I don't know how she deals with me because she even married me in the middle of all of this nonsense. Yeah. And she just goes, so like, do you just don't think anything is real anymore? And I go, it got to a point where I needed to try, because I've learned everything is branding and marketing now. Yeah. It's not abortion. It's free healthcare. It's choice. And I go, don't think of it as I don't think anything is real. Think of it as now I have to go back in time from school and go, I need to now relearn and reaffirm the things I was told. Like, is this even, dude, perfect example, food pyramid, margarine. Like how many things were we taught that were scientific fact for up to 2000 2005, and now we know it's literally the complete opposite. Dude, we can't even figure out how many genders there are anymore, and people want to get mad at me that I feel like maybe I should go and just let's double check some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the so-called what do they call them? Not specialists, but experts.
Yep.
They tell you not to question, and you're like, what sense does that make? And
well, and it's literally, it's antithetical to the idea of the scientific method, like to have a theory and work on it. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna call it silly, but it's just stupid. But I think a lot of people have turned their brains off. They want to have someone else do the thinking for them, the working for them. That's what's making me think that whole "you'll own nothing to be happy" thing is close to truth. Like you see how people online talking about, we need another lockdown. I'm like,
well, again, it is marketing, and I think it's perception too. Because think about it: if you are into the whole God fearing, or it doesn't matter. You don't have to be Christian. It could be Islam. It could be whatever. It could be Buddhist. Yeah. It is the idea of you'll own nothing and be happy, and then everybody gets all pissed off. They're like, "Oh, I want my car and my house and my porno. Like, I want those things." And it's like, yeah, but the other way around, it's like, I'll own nothing and be happy. The idea that you could just be happy with nothing, it should be a goal. Like, if you can't be alone in a room with nothing but yourself and you can't just be content, there's something there, and it's perception. It's like, it's the idea of wealth versus value. Like right now, it's like, I'm surrounded by all my clocks that'll tell me time. You can see all kinds of goodies here. You can see my silly light, my camera, and all the stuff, but I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I would call you wealthy, because you have family. And me getting married and stuff, it's like, it was like I was on default for so long, and people are so happy to stagnate and push pause on their life because they think it's what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the whole thing, going back to hold on, my nose was itching. It's not cocaine, but
that's why you got those white cards. I get it. You're hiding it.
I've been, but I have been, I actually been thinking on that this past week, and it's not concrete, but I was thinking it's sort of the whole "no, nothing be happening." It's sort of biblical, but it's inverted.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole one world religion. Like under Christ, you're supposed to be under one world religion, but the way the devil flips everything, it's negative.
Yeah. Well, and that's the fun part. I mean, I think we literally live in those times now. Like, I don't think it's like end times or anything, because I think everything tends to be circular, right? It's like a pattern. That's why everybody can see it. Like when people go back, you look at smallpox, what was that? When you look at polio, what was that? The Tuskegee experiment. It's like the government would never test on you ever. It's like somebody's never heard of the military. And you'll sit there and you'll go like, wait, they're just straight up lying. Like, fat is healthy. It's like, and they will say good will be evil and evil good. And, black will become white, up will become down.
Yeah.
You sit there and you go, what is that? Like, why is it? And a lot of times it could be perception. Like, it's not even, they're going to lie to you, but it's like, they're selling you something with a false truth. Like, some of it has to be real, or like you said, it's like, I can tell when I'm being scammed.
Yeah.
And it's like, the minute you can't give somebody something real, people will just walk away from it. That's why, like, I think you're starting to see this huge pendulum swing back to homesteading and Christian values and all of this stuff, because they took it too far. Like, you were like, oh yeah, abort. Because dude, 2016 earlier, I'm liberal. I went to film school and stuff. They call it the liberal arts for a reason.
So you used to be gay. It's college. I get it. No,
bro. Well, no, not really. But it's like, I would argue, like, if you're watching porn, you're drinking too much, you're having a lot of promiscuous, unprotected sex, you're on that realm. You're in that spectrum.
I agree. No, I'm with you.
And it's like, people are like, oh, well, you're gay. It's like, well, sodomy, dude. Even if you're hetero, can't make a baby in an ass.
Exactly.
And it's like, I think we are really living in that time where it's just like anything that is good is being sold to you like you don't want it, like at all. And it's even being demonized. Like literally, don't think for yourself. Like appeal to authority is everything right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Which was one of my motivations for going ahead and start this. Like I didn't originally want to do a podcast. I was
because
like,
everybody their mom does it now.
Yeah, because everybody was doing it, but then I had people telling me like, no, I want to hear you. I hate hearing myself talk. That's why I kept putting it off. So now I'm gonna find other people to talk to, have them do it most. I don't want to talk about myself. Like having to talk about myself, it makes me nauseous. I feel sick.
It's fine. Just tell people you're one of the Hodge twins. Just say you're the triplet.
No, I ain't cooning that yet unless anybody want to give me a check. I'll do a little cooning, but not a lot. I love black people. But
Black Twitter, please don't.
I want to love me. Because like I know how to talk. I don't even remember where I was headed, but we're going back to it because I know how to talk to black people. The problem with a lot of black conservatives, Republicans, is they talk about black people like they're not black. It's more like a them, like, oh no, I wanted to go. So it's always them. Yeah. They're them black people, but
it's another divide.
Yeah, but I never removed myself from being black. I mean, because it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't even like the term black, but I'm like, that's the language y'all speak. I'll use the language that y'all speak and understand. So
it is funny. It's like because then you'd argue about segregation, but yet people willingly do it, almost like without even knowing they're doing it. It's like
exactly
black and white. Like, are you joking right now? Like, like people would call me white right now.
Yeah,
obviously, right? Well, it's like I'm Hispanic, but it's like I just don't go out in the sun, so my German Irish pops out harder. And then you're like, oh, look at that. My white side was already cut into two characters. You talk to a white guy, you're like, okay, am I Russian? Am I Swedish? Am I French? And then you talk to a black person, it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the guy in Ethiopia is really going to be kicking it with Kanye in the middle of Chicago next week. And really their values are going to be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nonsense.
It's two different worlds. I said on the podcast recently, I was like, I would feel weird calling myself African American because I haven't put a foot in Africa. So I'm like, that's disrespect for the people who put time. That's like claiming the hood you're not from. So I wouldn't do that. Like I'd like to go by America, but we've everything's so politicized and polarized that I was like, all right, man, I'm black.
That's how dare you wear blue if you're a blood?
So I was like, man, all right, I'm American. It is what it is.
Well, and I think it's why even need the identifier? Like I think the like I fell out of the whole left-right paradigm like a couple years ago. Like because I was like when Trump was doing his speech when he first got elected, I'm like, oh, we're fucked. Like it's all falling apart. It's all going to be a fascist state. It's all going to be terrible. Yeah. And then I saw how they had just attacked this man over and over. And I was just like, this is just getting annoying. And then it got to a point where I'm like, so there is just like no back and forth anymore. It's just everybody went crazy. And I got to a point where I just started questioning it. I'm like, why though? And I'm like, I mean, it doesn't seem to be any worse than anybody else. Cause I was just like, anytime anybody's in office, I'm like, there's good and bad every time. It's just like, well, did you see the gas prices under Trump? And I was like, do you not remember Warp Speed? Like, all of COVID happened under the trans movement took off because of him. He's the first president to ever be elected in 100% for gay rights, like gay marriage and all. Even Obama wasn't that. Nah. And you said, oh, but he's the conservative darling. I'm like, what's he conserving?
Nothing.
And it's like, well, he's better than Biden. And I'm like, hot take. I'm like, I'll take Biden again. It's like, I'm not going to vote for him, but they'd be like, why? I go 100%. The reason why I think Biden is a better choice right now is because 100% nobody would fall for anything with him still president.
Yeah.
Zero. It's like the idea of like, if Hillary would have gotten into office, No way in hell is warp speed and lockdowns happening under her.
No.
No way. People would be like, nah, she's a witch and she's trying to kill us all. And Alex Jones would like, his head would explode.
Exactly.
And we would all be like, no way, dude, not happening. But with Trump, you're like, well, there's a reason. There's a reason. He's 5D chess in this. He's 33 degree chess in this. And you're like, and then all of a sudden he laxed you into a goat pen and Judas goaded you. But then if you have Biden, you're sitting there, you're going like, this man can't even like change his own shoes. Like he's not making calls. So at least you know for a fact there's something else afoot and it keeps you on your toes. You get Trump in, that puts another half a section of people back to sleep to be like, sure, I'll go to war because Trump told me to.
I had a post on Facebook, which I've been looking for. I thought I put it on, I deleted my Facebook, but I thought I had put it on Twitter, but I couldn't find it. I've been looking for different ways I would have worded it. I can't find it. But I said it was maybe like a couple months after Trump it probably was like half a year because that's when I started coming around to him. I'm like, okay, because I didn't like him or Hillary. I couldn't believe after the election, it was like, dang, Donald Trump's really our president.
Yeah.
So I was a little weary. But I posted, I was like, all right, he's doing a few good things. So I posted on Facebook, I was basically like, what if Trump does real well for 4 years and then gets reelected in flips, like everything he basically ran for, because he can't be impeached. I mean, he can't be unelected. You know, they probably try to impeach him, but that mostly leads to nothing.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to post that because I know it will set some of my some of my followers' heads, but it'll open the eyes of something like, wait, what if he does that? I just want people to be aware. Like you said, a lot of the right, if Trump gets reelected, they will go back to sleep, which is why it's good in the long run for Christians and conservatives to have another Biden thing, because now you have to be more aware.
Yeah, and you're diligent, you know, you're learning stuff. Like I think this has been the biggest learning experience for everybody. Like people talked about how 2020 with COVID, it was like the year of clear vision. Like what are the odds, 2020 vision, you're learning, it got people to really question a lot of stuff around them. And it's like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Some people went kind of nuts. I was there. Like, I'm doing the Q thing and I'm going back and I'm learning stuff. Once they started getting into time travel, I'm like, okay, we're kind of losing the plot here. But I was like, but then I started learning things about the Vatican and the red leather shoes and the things that's going on in Hollywood and the names and stuff. And you start learning a little bit about that. And then you're learning about like, names like the 13 families, and you're learning all the stuff. And then it all leads you all the way back. It all leads you back to God at some point, in some way in conversation. Cause it's like, you look at then you're like, well, then what about NASA and the moon landing and then JFK? And you're like, well, then what's Walt Disney doing with NASA? And then Werner von Braun has Psalm 19:1 on his gravestone that talks about the firmament. And it's like, and it's like, well, do you believe all of it? It's like, well, no, but it makes you like go, why don't I know any of this? Like, this all seems like kind of cool knowledge. Like, dude, I came up with a theory a couple years ago because of all the ties with Walt Disney and Werner von Braun. Like, they did all the Antarctica stuff. I think it was like high jump or deep freeze or something, like literal government contracts. Yeah. And I go, everybody's trying to figure out, how is Disney still operating with all the flops they have, all the money they're losing, all the crazy. And I go, I think they're funded by NASA.
Really?
Because why? Because what if the Disney apparatus is just one of the strong propaganda wings of the military? Industrial light and magic, as they say. It's like Pixar. It's like you have a wing to everybody. And I would go, they're essentially a country. They're a sovereign country. They have literal embassies, Paris, Tokyo, California, and Florida. I mean, international hubs of the same country. If you buy Disney bucks, you can only spend their money there. So they have their own currency. Have, and anybody who lives in Florida knows about Celebration. It's a literal city that they own.
See, you put me on right now because see,
Sorry, I
after
told you
I'm not
I'm
big
up
on
there.
like I was big on Disney movies. Like I love animation. I love movies.
Yeah.
Like I love the wonder, the magic that goes in it. And
Mhm.
so I'm torn because sometimes like I'll be watching a Disney movie and I'm like, this is good if you don't see
Think
the
about it.
propaganda and
Yeah.
you don't see the devil in the details, but a lot of times I see the devil in the details and it makes me feel bad. And I'm just like, ah man.
Well, the way I would say it's learn to engage is
Yeah,
because like same dude, I still have all my VHSs of the old Disney movies. Like
yeah,
I love the soundtracks are banger.
yeah,
Tarzan,
yeah.
probably one of the best Disney soundtracks. Fight
Hmm.
me. Phil Collins went hard.
I was just about to say Phil Collins is the man. I can't knock it. He's talented.
And so it's like I said, I went to Full Sail University, which is a big film school,
Yeah.
and it's essentially going to Hogwarts. Like
Oh
you're
yeah.
learning how to do wizardry. Like you learn about color coding and color sympathy and how to edit and
Hmm.
camera angles to invoke emotion and
Yeah.
how to music to manipulate people. You literally, like, a perfect example is you look on YouTube and find a comedy that can be re-edited to be a horror film. It's like
I
all it took was some music and some color change, and bang, you can completely manipulate something.
you're gonna have to educate me on that because I I can't explain it, but I've been on that recently. I like you said, I have a lot of time to listen to stuff at work, and sometimes I'll just sitting there thinking, and I got thinking, I was like, there's something close between comedy and tragedy, but I was like, I don't know what the connection is because I gravitate towards them both.
It's
I love
perception.
yeah, I
It's
gravitate like even when I used to write.
yeah.
I'll either try to make it funny or I like somebody has to die. Just no,
It's no, I
because
get it. Yeah, it's a
it's gonna
joke.
it's my bad. But
Go ahead.
either way, it's gonna leave an impression on your heart. Whether you like, oh, they brought me joy, or it's like, oh, you made me feel sadness,
Mhm.
or you made me feel for the character.
Well, the thing is like, well, that was Disney's big thing too. He was trying to figure out. They were literally trying to figure out ways to get people to sympathize with uh, not only animals but with just fake characters. That was the whole
Yeah.
thing. Is if you can invoke a response, and that's the whole point. Anytime you're making art, the purpose is to invoke
Mm,
response, not only in your audience but usually from yourself because you're expressing something.
yeah.
So the idea is that the more subtle you can do it, the more longevity it usually has. It's
Yes.
why it's called propaganda. It's
Propaganda.
like
Yeah.
propagating a seed. It's
Hmm.
planting a seed. Like right now, if you look at a lot of your advertisements, like we don't really get them because we got YouTube Premium. But like when I
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
the gym and stuff, they got 90 TVs going.
Hmm.
Look at how many times you'll see the blue and yellow color combo all over the place, and it's usually because of the Ukraine flag, or
Yeah.
you'll see um all the interracial couples.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It's because it's pushing something, and it's like, it doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. That's not the point. The idea is that if you see it enough, it just becomes normalized, and you're like, well,
Hmm.
it should be normal, it's blah blah blah. I get it, it's fine. It's not about being prejudiced. It's the idea of what's being pushed. What is
Yeah.
the thing that they want in front of you so bad that you have to see it over and
Yeah.
over? That's why Mockingbird is that everybody knows about Operation Mockingbird.
Hmm.
If somebody says something to you enough, it becomes truth to you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like a real thing, but it gets to a point where you've heard it
Yeah.
and it's been reinforced so much that it becomes the only knowledge that you've retained.
Like herd immunity.
Essentially, kind of, yeah. Just with thought, instead
Yeah.
of everybody yawning,
Yeah.
you're all sad putting flags in your bio.
And then BLM and needles in your arm that it just came out. Man, it's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, think about a scene that was really powerful to you in a movie or something, and the next time you think about it, mute it, turn the music off or something. Like
Yeah.
it changes the whole vibe. Like
Yeah.
and back to your comedy versus tragedy. Somebody made a joke. I don't remember who it was, but they say comedy is when something bad happens to somebody else. Tragedy is when it happens to you.
Hey, that's spot on right there.
It's like Schadenfreude. Like
Yeah.
you'll laugh at a fail compilation all day on Chive TV, but
Mhm.
you know if you got hit in the nuts with your own skateboard, it's more tragic.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember who it was. What's that bald comedian name? Not Bill Burr. It's another one. I think he got in trouble for what's his name?
Louis C.K.
Was it Louis C.K.?
The one
Yeah,
that
I think it was Louis
masturbated in
C.
a hotel or whatever. The
Yeah, I
redhead
think it
guy.
was Louis C.K. It probably wasn't him, but I think it was Louis C.K. All these bald guys look alike. But
Fair.
but nah, he said something like someone was offended because she said it's not uh good or funny to make fun of other people, but he was like humor always comes at the expense of someone else. So I've always remembered that, whether it's a thing, like whether it's like you said, myself, whether I get
Yeah.
hit in the balls or you get in the balls, either way, if it's funny, it's funny. It
Yeah.
always comes at the expense of something or someone else.
Well, and I think that's the good thing. It's like everybody always talks about communism, how like it's all about monetary and everybody works for the collective good. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's the same with energy and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they want this utopia, which, translates to nowhere, which I find
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
But the idea is that like, well, then why not, when it comes to your energy, why is
Mm-hmm.
that not also a collective? And when we can share in the tragedy and comedy and the give and
Mm-hmm.
take of experience, that's where we all come together. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
idea of like the minute you can't make fun of somebody else, they're now segregated.
Exactly.
They don't get to be a part of the joke anymore. That's why like we've talked about and I know everybody's talked about this on Twitter at some point, where it's the idea of like, yeah, equality is great, but there is a point where you realize that that's not what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want everyone to be equal. They want everybody to have their turn. They want
Exactly.
everybody to be oppressed. It's your turn to be down here at the bottom while
Yeah.
we're up here laughing or degrading you.
Yeah.
And it's that animosity and resentment, and because a lot of people aren't alive during those actual times,
Mm-hmm.
all they're being fed is the concept of it from forever
Mm-hmm.
ago, and it's this idea of like emotional reparations
Yeah.
from ghosts that you don't even know.
Mm-hmm. That's what really drew me back to Instagram, because I was on TikTok for a little bit. I don't operate on that much.
Oh, you
But
were a dancing nurse? I had no idea.
during the 2020, you know how we had to do it. But yeah, like on Instagram, you're allowed to get away with anything. You be racist, sexist, homophobic, like everybody gets made fun of in the reels, and I love it, because like you said, you can be handicapped people make fun of themselves, you make fun of handicapped people, you make fun of dead people. Like everybody gets joked on Instagram, and if it's not in the video, you can go to the comments and see it. And like that's how I grew up, and that's what I enjoy. Like it's like you said, equality is everybody. I think you said it, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but everybody being able to take a joke and whatnot, it makes everyone equal.
Well, and everybody, it's a way to give everybody an opportunity to empathize with each other, because everybody's had an experience that they can empathize with. But the problem is the minute you want to shield yourself from the experience or the tragic nature of it, you give it so much power. Like, it's like, I was told I was too fat, I couldn't get on a plane. Like when Kevin Smith had to he couldn't get on a plane, he got kicked off. It's like, how do you think short people feel? I can't ride, I couldn't ride roller coasters because I was like 5'4" for the longest time. And it's like, being bald, it's like,
Was that a shot at me? No, I was playing.
No, self-inflicted wound, man. And it's like, there's a give and take to everything. And the minute you can't point that out is a minute that you give it so much power over you that you can't, I don't know, you can't really integrate into other groups, because it's just like you're always on guard for some stupid reason.
Exactly. I want to ask you a random question. You said you were 5. How tall are you now?
5'6" on a good day.
I'm taller than you, barely. I'm 5'8", 5'9" on a good day. Okay. I was like, are we really twins or not? I was just wondering.
I drank too much coffee. I stunted my growth.
Was that Was that the Mexican side of you or the Irish leprechaun side of you?
100% the Mexicans.
The Mexican.
I'm taller than every Mexican in my family.
Yeah. I got one Mexican homeboy. Like every super short Mexican he meets, they're not Mexican anymore, they're Guatemalan. He automatically calls them Guatemalan. Or any Mexican.
Easy because they're wearing those like Ed Hardy bedazzled jeans.
Yeah. Or any Mexican he don't like. They only got Mexican. They're usually Mexican because that's what we work with. But any Hispanic he don't like, they're automatically Guatemalan.
Every race has their black Twitter.
Yeah.
Every race does. Yeah. Dude, German, Irish, it's like Germans. It's like, well, I'm Deutsch. I'm German. Irish. It's like there's N-words for Irish people.
Yeah.
Like there's an N-word in every in every group. Like gringo. You know how many times I get called gringo all the time? And it's like, but fair, I deserve it. I can't speak Spanish. Thanks, Mom.
I can't speak African, and Africa is a continent. I know that if anybody sees this, like, Africa is not a country, it's a continent.
Well, you can't speak hieroglyphics?
I speak emoji a little bit. We get back to hieroglyphics.
Dude, how funny is that we're just making a full turnaround?
Yeah. That's how I communicate most of the time. GIFs, memes, and freaking what did you call it? Emojis.
Yeah. It's fine.
Hey, I want you to explain those clocks because we explain why we both have. You can
why you're stealing my thunder?
Yeah, explain why I stole your swag a little bit.
So the clock thing is totally my wife's deal. When we first met, she had a whole bunch, and I guess it was just like,
gotcha.
She just decided that I'm gonna have a clock collection, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. A little serial killery. When we first were together, I would sleep over, and she'd had batteries in all of them.
Yeah.
So the ticking, dude, it was like insane. And so we had to make a rule that only like a couple get to have batteries in them.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I'm like, well, they're kind of cool. And I'm just like, I'm kind of into it. And I've been kind of moving away from the digital. Like I don't have smartwatches and stuff. Like I don't have those like Echoes or Alexas or nothing. Like like we don't even have a TV upstairs. Like I won a TV in a raffle from my job and it stayed in a box for like 2 years. And
I did too. Well, not the box part. I love anime. I don't know if you know, but I love anime. But go ahead.
Black. Yes, I know. Black. That's such a weird phenomena that it's like, let me guess, Naruto.
You see my arms?
It's just, dude, it's so fun. I see it at the gym all the time. It's so funny to me.
But I'd want to explain myself. I was into anime before it was cool. Like I remember.
Oh, hipster. Okay.
I remember. I remember going to school with I think it was Charizard on my shirt. It was like 8th grade, 7th grade, and like people were clowning me. They're like, you got a Pokemon shirt on. Like even my friends, and then like I pulled them to something like, hey man, you like Pokemon too? We trade cards together. You're like, yeah, but not in public. Like I don't wear it at school. Damn. I'm just like, oh man,
that's fucked up. Charizard's a dragon. That's pretty metal.
I know, man. I was I was watching everything from of course DBZ, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, freaking. I was watching Sailor Moon. I was whatever.
Man of Taste.
Yeah, I was watching what's it called? Not Cowboy Bebop, even though I did love Cowboy Bebop, but Akira. I watched Akira before I was even supposed to. Like, I think I was like 8 or 9, and I watched that one.
Avatar: Last Airbender, anime or no?
Not an anime. It's a cartoon.
Right. There you go. Fair. Yeah. If I had to say my favorite anime for sure right now, One Punch Man.
One Punch. It took me a while. I didn't want to watch it at first. I was like, it's stupid. But I didn't know it was satire. Nobody explained to me it was satire. So I was like, this is dumb. And then once I saw it was satire, I was like, oh, now I go back and
kind of get it.
I was like, oh, this show's great. Top 10.
Sacrilegious. I totally prefer the English dub because I think the actors actually did a good job.
No, I do too.
And yeah, I was like, that was big. There was one I started watching. I only really liked the first season. It's called Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I know what it is.
The first season's pretty good. I like it a lot. A lot of Christian allegory to it. A lot of like Tower of Babel stuff. It was really interesting, but a lot of fan service.
Yeah, that's why I didn't watch the fan service. Like I know it's gonna be there, but sometimes it just gets over the top where I'm just like, all right, I can't watch it. I was enjoying a nice show. I can't remember what the name of it was. Sometimes I'll just get curious and look up something. But I remember looking down at my phone. I looked up and I was like, wait a minute, why is she naked? Like, like I didn't. I was like, what?
Explaining my first date.
Yeah. Like I didn't understand. I was like, what is going on here? What did I miss? Or like you get the weird camera angles, and I get that's their culture. So I'm not gonna knock for their culture. I'm just not into it.
I love that Japan has that. You drop a couple bombs on somebody, and then 2 generations later, it's all about tentacle porn.
Yeah, have you seen the memes where they're like, be the America the Japanese think you are? Man, because Japanese love American culture, whether it's rap, cowboy stuff or Elvis stuff, or like
there's a fascination with anybody's culture. I mean, how's that any different from us wanting to go over there and drink tea and wear kimonos?
True.
Be samurai.
True.
Dude, samurais are fucking cool. Exactly. It's like we look at, I mean, it's the same thing. We're just the Western samurai. Dude, they literally made a cowboy version of Magnificent Seven. I mean,
yeah. Man, I love, see, you understand it, you get it. I hate how like today people are cultural appropriation. I was like, bro, you want to be able to share your culture with the world. I think the problem with like, I know with black folks, I think it is because we didn't monetize any of it. Like a certain other group of people who we will not name have monetized off a lot of it.
I just know that they wear particularly small hats.
Particularly small hats, yes. We're talking about the Asians.
No. Oh yeah, that's it. Clowns.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and it's like, and it is funny. It's like those are the kind of people they'll scream cultural appropriation and then go drink on St. Patrick's Day or order Chinese food,
or with the Chinese tattoos.
Bro, it's nonsense. And you'll sit there and you'll just be like, why would you not want a? You know what it is. Here, I'm gonna put the tinfoil hat on for a second.
All right, go ahead.
I think the reason why they do the cultural appropriation thing is because if you can't understand another person's culture, it's just another divide. There's no common ground.
Yeah. But like it's funny though, like I seen a couple of videos where like it'll be like a white guy, he'll go to the liberal college and then they're like, oh, you gotta take that off, you're offensive, blah blah. But then he'd go to like the little Mexico in his town and they love it. Like, or like there's a black guy
or whatever.
Or there's a black guy I've been watching on TikTok. He'll be it's Instagram, but he'll be in China and he'll start speaking Chinese and they love it. Like their eyes light up. Like people, the regular people love when you're interested in their culture because now it feels like you care, especially if you speak the language. They feel like, oh, he's really taking some steps to get to know our culture or whatever.
I appreciate your perspective on that. I'm a little bit of the pessimist on that, where I go
ahead, tell me.
I think it's more because we're all lazy in a little, in a kind of way. It's like, oh, thank God this guy can speak my language. So we're not pointing at the same menu for 15 minutes trying to figure out this order. Like, thank God. And it's like, like when I lived in Florida, dude, good luck. When I had to go hang out with my buddy in Miami, we're down in like South Beach. It's like, you can't even order at a McDonald's if you speak English. Like, good luck, bro. Like, and it's just one of those things where it's like, people be like, well, learn the language. And it's like, dude, I wish if our schools were better, we probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I get that too. That's part of that too. Cause I can't lie. Like sometimes I'm like, if a guy's been here 10 years and we're working together, like the place I work, sometimes you work with dangerous machinery. You've been here 10 years. You should be able to speak some English. If you haven't tried to learn English in 10 years, I'm kind of a little ticked.
Suspect.
Yeah. Cause you could at least try to learn like, the basics. The
code words. Yeah. Because the profanities at least.
Yeah. that's week one. That's what everybody's gonna teach you regardless.
Well, I mean, I've made the argument that I think English is almost the what is it, the universal language at this point. It is the language of Babel because it's the language of aeronautics. Like if you're going to be an international pilot, I think just pilot in general, but if you're an international pilot, you have to know English. You have to. It's a requirement. And So when that happens, you do see other countries be way more bilingual because of the necessity of it,
Yeah.
because of the fact that, I mean, shit, most of them use our money. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like you have to have that little bit of understanding or it doesn't work. And
Mhm.
then, then America gets subbed out because we're just kind of retarded.
Yeah.
Like we don't learn other stuff. We only know about our own things. And then when America does have a culture, but it is an amalgamation of
Yeah. Yeah.
cultures, which is the culture.
It's a
So when
melting pot, quote. It is. It
yeah,
exactly is.
but I mean, there is like certain things, we like our guns, we like our food, we like freedom and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is one of those things where it's like, you know, you bring other people over and it's like, it's a culture shock. Like people always
Mhm.
act like America's so great. And it's like, yeah, it is pretty awesome. But yeah, it can be a culture shock for anybody who shows up.
Yeah.
It's like going to somebody's house that you
Yeah.
never met.
I've been thinking because people like, what is American culture, and they usually try to downgrade, disregard like some of our whatever. But I was thinking, I was like, if I had to lean into a personality and call it American, the personality I would lean into is the cowboy culture. But it's all like there's a sort of an honor system, sort of like like you say, you still get the guns, like, and it's sort of like not even self defense. It's sort of like that whole, Han shot first situation. Like, no,
Yeah.
we quick to pull the triggers. We get sort of wild with it, but there's like, how they call it. The Wild West was wild, but there still was an honor code between men.
Yeah. If I think there's a middle ground. I think
Yeah.
if you went cowboy, I would say it would be particularly the sheriff.
Yes. Yeah.
If
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I would say it's a mix of that, like the lawful, dutiful,
Mhm.
independent guy who wants order, but also likes a little bit of society,
Yeah.
and the farmer. I think it's the idea of like you're connecting with the land that you own. You want to be independent.
Yeah.
You want your own land, but you also want to be part of. You want to have a cultural identity
Yeah. Exactly.
in
I
your
like that.
country, while at the same time you still want to be able to be like, get off my land. But
Hmm.
you're not really using the gun. The gun is for protection, not from somebody trying to break in your house, but like,
Yeah.
so a wolf doesn't eat you, or something,
Hmm.
or a coyote doesn't try to eat your chickens, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
because all our founding fathers were essentially farmers, plantation owners, all
Hmm.
that stuff. So it's like you have all these subset of skills and you're knowledgeable and you have all this stuff because you had to be. And
Hmm.
now we lose some of that culture because everything is so point to authority. Please
Hmm.
give me my, like we're dying of convenience, and
Exactly.
we're losing our independence through convenience, which
Hmm.
is yeah, it's kind of difficult. I mean, you're seeing it in other countries.
Yeah.
They're falling apart to it too.
It's we're too comfortable. Like, even the stuff I hear people spew sometimes, like, you could only get to that point in thinking if you have too much time on your hands. Because if you were out hunting, gathering, whatever, like you said, defending from wolves, taking care of family, homesteading, you don't have time to worry about your gender, or if
Yeah,
or getting a
yeah,
BBL, or like all that stuff doesn't matter. Like, you just don't have time to think about this stuff. You're like, man, I gotta put food on the table. I gotta sell some extra crops, and I gotta make sure I don't get dysentery. But
yeah. And I get it. Like people want to go that. Well, that's the extreme. We're not on Oregon Trail, for God's sake. But I go, then I'm like, well, then pull it down a bit, because like because don't get me wrong, I've been like, oh fuck the government. I did that for a while, and now I realize like anything on a federal level doesn't affect me. Like
mm-mm.
anything outside of the state, honestly, usually anything outside of a county,
Yeah,
usually, but like I would get it to the state. After that, it doesn't really affect me. It's
no,
like, what's it? Oh, but your taxes though. I'm like, dude, they can print the money. Taxation is to keep you subservient. It's to keep you in your place.
yeah,
Um, it's like there's a point where it's like you need to understand your own dependence before you start bitching.
mm-hmm.
It's like when you're yelling at the government and you want the government gone so bad, it's like, well, then who's going to feed your fat, stupid mouth and give you free porn?
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I hate Walmart. Then stop shopping there. Go somewhere else. Oh,
So
but it's.
my producer, the card he gave me, it says you hate libertarians. Is that true?
I don't hate them. I appreciate that they have an idea.
Yeah.
but they offer no solutions.
I feel you.
A libertarian feels like the kind of person that says we'll light it on fire and we'll figure it out after.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know it's bad, but it's like, no, but it's like,
Exactly.
it's like you burn down the government, then what? It's always about the then what. It's like, so what are you going to do after that? It's like, yeah, but there's too many regulations on the food. And it's like, what food? Like, what regulation? It's like, now take away the regulations. Then what do you think you're going to be eating? You're gonna be eating rat that got killed yesterday in the subway after somebody shit on it. Like,
exactly.
and then it's like, oh, but they keep us from having our guns. It's like, do they though? Or do you just not, or are you not capable to go through the proper channels to get one? And I get it. I get it. Before everybody cries, it's like my state. It's like, I get it. It's hard. I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You gotta take some classes. You gotta talk to some people. I moved away from Iowa. That's now a constitutional carry.
Yeah.
Wasn't like that fucking 8 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
like I'm gonna word this correctly. I respect libertarians because, like you said, they do have ideas. But after hearing them talk, it all seems like Judge. Like I tell people, it's like the Book of Judges, where it says every man did what was right in his own heart. So I already know where that's gonna go. It all sounds good in theory, but when every man does what's right in his own heart, then you're gonna have
my truth, as some
you're
people
gonna have all kinds of degeneracy going on, and they don't with their there won't be any judges in their utopia. So because there's no government.
Well, the problem is once you remove a central governance or a central judge, everyone becomes a judge.
Exactly.
And then that's when might becomes right. It becomes the idea that there isn't a government at any given time is nonsense. It's just government by a different name. It's mafia or cartel or HOA. It's
I like you added that in there.
Somebody, I think Owen Benjamin said it. I don't know if it was his thing or if he got it from somebody else, but they say you will establish a government when 3 guys order a pizza.
Exactly.
Who's going to be the front face? Who's going to be the Speaker of the House to make the phone call? Who's the Secretary of Treasury who's going to figure out who's paying what? And then, and then who's going to be the enforcer to make sure everybody did what they were supposed to do?
Exactly.
The minute you think that what is it? Like nature abhors a void.
Yeah.
Like the minute you create a void, something will fill.
Creates a vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah. It just requires filling.
Yeah.
It's, as weird as that sounds.
And then you speak of the human heart, there's always going to be poor people because there's always going to be lazy people. Of course, there's always going to be manipulative people who trick people out of their money and whatnot. But there's some people out there just going to be lazy. So if there's no government and a person sees I have a lot of wealth and most likely there'll be a lot of women or whatever.
Well, I mean, yeah, your point stands because minimum wage exists. How many people have had a job 2 seconds today that they went to and looks over at some dude and goes, I can't believe this motherfucker makes exactly the same amount of money I do.
And you're putting in way more work.
And it's just like, but a minimum wage is established by a government because actual free capitalism is not real. It doesn't exist. And you want to learn to vote, you vote with your money. That's how you do it. It's literally where your money goes. Oh, but my taxes. That's fine. After you get the money in your pocket, what do you do with it? Are you buying beer and going to strip clubs and smoking weed all day? Or are you buying a shovel and dirt so you can grow food in the backyard so you don't have to eat the glyphosate, fake organic romaine at Walmart?
And those people, they'll be easily manipulated because let's say I have a little power and influence. I can be like, hey, you like drinking? You like gambling? Hold this. We're going to start a militia or whatever. You just give me your land. I'll have someone take care of that. Boom, boom, boom. And I'll let you get drunk as long as you keep guarding and hold it. So basically, I just give you another job, job that fits something I can have you do, and still allow you to keep your vices. And now we can just continue to grow and move in on who else's territory I want.
Private security is just the military by another name.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
What's that? Blackstone, Black Rock, Black. What is it? What do they call that? That Trump had him in his security. Black something. It's always black.
I would assume it was gold. Orange Team 6.
Yeah. Something. It's always black. It's always black.
And what's the coolest color, man?
Yeah. No, it is. This is my favorite color. It's not because I'm black.
Wow, surprise.
It's just like I compare it with anything, man. Even
Stealthy.
brown.
Stealthy.
Speaking of black, what is Scruff McGruff doing over there in the corner? Is that what that does?
McGruff, my puppy.
Is that
Yeah, I found him at a secondhand store.
I haven't seen one of those in at least 15, 20 years.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, it's a puppet.
Yeah. My man.
First episode, we have a puppet appearance. Oh.
Say no to drugs, kids. He's rocking. He's getting doobie. Him and Smokey the Bear are going to a convention meeting out at what do they call it? Shit. My joke landed. I can't. I forgot. Bilderberg. There we go.
Bilderberg meeting. Yeah. At the Bilderberg meeting.
Yeah, I got all kinds of goofy stuff. Like I got Kratos' axe sitting in the case there. I got Mjolnir up there.
See, that's why I need a house. I need a knick-knack room.
Love it. Man. This is my wife's work from home thing, but I also have my iMac over there where I edit stuff.
Yeah.
And it's fun stuff. We have to hide it. This is allegedly I'll be fine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm not supposed. I can't spill the beans.
Oh,
in other words, we're gonna have to redecorate this room for something.
Oh yeah. No,
in some months.
Allegedly, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly. Could it be? God willing. There we go.
Yeah. God willing. Man, I forgot what the heck I was. That Scruff McGruff threw me out. Man, I used to be scared of puppets. Not scared of puppets. They just creep me out. Like the human puppet, the human-like puppets, they creep me out. I wouldn't call it scared. I'm just like,
like the marionettes?
Yeah, they're weird. They're just weird. Like anything with a human type face, it just creeps me.
I think puppets are funny as shit.
Yeah.
I find there's just something about shoving your hand up something's ass and controlling it. It just makes me laugh.
So you're into sodomy, huh?
Nah, it's stinky. Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna TMI it. I've 2 opportunities. Not a big fan. The girlfriend at the time was, and then you kind of realize that that's clearly from trauma, and you sit there and you're like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm good.
I've heard stories, and then like you said, like I didn't understand how much trauma plays into the whole,
deviancy,
sexual deviancy. Yeah, I didn't notice. Like it's a lot going on that I'm just
it's the hedonic treadmill, man. It's why you're seeing this weird push on. Well, I wouldn't call it weird because I agree with it. This big push on porn, like the pushing back on it. It's because it's like people use the phrase "porn as a weapon," which I kind of there. It's a psychological warfare thing. It makes your men weak and it devalues your women. Yeah. And I will say this: if you even look at some of my old podcasts I did with a buddy, there was one where we brought on a porn star. She doesn't work, so I'm not going to throw her name out there, but you can still find it. And I did a couple of shots for a friend for Cosplay Deviants. Like I made their calendar like twice, not like as a model. I shot the model. But like I worked with that stuff, and there was a point where I told my wife, I was like, I felt so bad because it was like it hurts so much to just sit back and go, I can't show like my work to family. Like I work so hard to master this craft, and I can't show it to anybody. And it's like, it's somebody said that your talents are a gift from God, and what you do with those gifts are your gifts to Him. Yeah. And the minute I heard that, it just hurt so hard to know that I was doing that with a talent that I had. And so then it was just one of those days where I spoke to my wife and I talked to her, and she's very nice. Like she's one of those people, like, just kind of watched me degrade for a really long time with drugs and alcohol, and she just loved me enough, and she just would never push back too hard. And it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to start scrubbing all this. Like, we went through and like I started deleting anything I had, anything that was even questionable. Cleaned up my Instagram, like unfollowed any cosplay girl, any of that kind of stuff. And got to a point where I threw out stuff in front of her and made sure that like I looked at her and said, I apologized to her and just said, this was fucked up. Like, this was, luckily we weren't married at the time. Like, I think there is like a little holy element to that, because it really does help with the putting your past away and really trying to begin anew if you're being honest about it. And it was one of those things where it was just like, there was a lot of self-reflection. You would find that, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts right now, any guy who still watches porn right now, it would escalate. It always escalates.
Always.
It goes from just girl to girl on girl to now it's threesomes, and then you end up like Alex Jones watching tranny porn, not being able to get it up unless you watched it first. And then everybody knows you're going to try something with your woman, and they're not going to. And then what did you do? You just degraded your woman because you have this weird fucked up image in your head about bad boundaries. And I get it. It's like, I would never like purity spiral on somebody. It's like, like anybody else, like I was drinking all the time, whacking off 7 times a day, thinking it was the coolest thing ever. And then you just go, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why? And then like somebody called it, you're wasting your jizz strength. And I was dying. It was so funny because you do feel more powerful, not only from you're not expelling all these vitamins and minerals that keep you strong and virile, but you're also not exerting this energy, and you're not carrying around this shame and guilt and just nonsense. And it's like, well, it's socially acceptable. It's like, but in your heart, it's goofy. It's wrong. It's wrong.
I've fallen down that rabbit hole. I mean, well, is it a rabbit hole? I've fallen down that path, and like even when I was young and got introduced to that type of stuff, I knew what I was doing was wrong.
But other people affirm it. It's so bad. And it's like, there is a point, especially if your connection with God isn't quite there. So you don't feel this external accountability anymore, especially when people are like my dad bought me a Playboy when I was like 12 because I was into WWF and Sable was on it.
Oh yeah.
And and I get it. He's a boomer. They grew up in one of the most crazy Porky's, Barbarella, crazy time, Baywatch. So I get it. He probably thought he was trying to do something nice, but it rewires you all goofy, man. And it gets to a point where it's like you get on this like hedonic treadmill where it just gets worse and worse and worse until you like kind of just don't recognize yourself, and you're like, oh, I'm into this, and it's like probably not. And it's like if you turned it off for a while, dude, it's like the minute I started to turn it off, you see so much more like what the advertising is doing. Going to the gym is difficult these days because women are competing with porn. Like why not just go naked at this point with half the stuff I see you wearing?
Yeah, and it's all back on Instagram. Like everything's supposed to be workout and fitness, and then it's just all booty. It's not. It's no working out. It's all put the camera towards my butt. Let me do some squats. Let me do some lunges.
And then everybody goes, you're going to purity spiral. It's always think about the kids. It's like, don't even think about the kids. Think about your future kids. A lot of people don't think about it because they've given up already. I'm 37, trying for my first, and it goes like, I feel like I stole so much of my own years from myself. Because I let culture raise me. I let movies and music and TV raise me. And anytime I had that little feeling in my heart where it was like, this is wrong. Like, would you, if your mom was sitting in the room with you right now, would you do that? Of course you fucking wouldn't. So you shouldn't.
Yeah. So growing up, growing up as a young adult, did you not want kids in a family, or were you, it was just one of those things like, I want this, but I'll wait later on in life for it?
I think it's a little bit of everything, honestly. It changed with the tides. Honestly, I fell into all the culture, like Facebook, Instagram. At one time, you're like, man, it'd be kind of cool to be a dad, but then you're like, look at me though. I'm a drunken mess all the time. Look at what my dad did to me. It's like, am I gonna do the same shit? Am I gonna be worse?
Yeah.
Am I gonna be an awful dad? And then it goes from fear of like, will I have enough money? Do I want to be in an apartment? Like, is where I live safe? Can I afford to send them anywhere and give them a good life? And then it's like, then it turns into, yeah, but I barely have any free time now. Could I actually give any free time to them? It's like, well, I enjoyed the time I get with my wife. Do I want to divide that between a kid? Will I resent my own child?
Yeah.
You know? And you see it in people. You see people get mad that, you know, they can't go on a cruise or a vacation. Some people resent their kids. Some people abort their kids. Why? It's fear or selfishness. Pick one.
Yeah, because like even like which the whole little thing you just went on. If you go like when I listen to people say that, I've heard plenty of people say the exact same thing you said, and then I'll tell like I've had to tell a friend. I was like, you said I a lot. I was like that's rooted in something because you didn't say like you didn't. It was a bunch of I, me, us. Like everything had to do with you.
Well, look at it. The iPhone, the iMac.
Yeah, it's self-centered.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get that when I was young. My mom, she used to say that. She used to say people that don't have kids are selfish, and I didn't get it at first. You know, I was a young teenager. Even when I was young, I always wanted kids. I always wanted a family because I just grew up with my mom and my sister, and then my dad, he'd be around sometimes not. But I love him. If you see his dad, I still love you. We all make mistakes, but yeah. So I was like, all right, I know what I don't want, but I do know I want a family. And luckily, the couple girls I was with before my wife, I didn't have children by them. And then, like I would say, God used my wife to settle me down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
he used my wife to save me.
Yeah, and it's that thing of like, I think God gives you multiple. They always say like that you get like 2 guardian angels, and I think I lucked out, and it's so gay. I think mine was actually my wife because, she watched me just deteriorate. I got super fat multiple times. I was really disgusting. I was angry all the time, and then all of a sudden it was just like I switched it. And I've been doing it in like 2 years, lose all this type of weight, decided to make all these decisions and go. I was like, I never even thought I'd have a kid. And I always made the joke. I was like, well, if we didn't have kids, what a waste of genetics. Cause she's like blue-eyed beautiful. And it's
you
like
got a Nordic queen. Okay.
That dude, Viking, bro.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, but it's also like a disservice to her. It's like the way she treats me. It's like, I gave her a kid. It was me.
Yeah.
And what a fucking piece of shit I was. You know, it's like and it's like, am I going to be that guy in fucking 5 years when we take a next Christmas photo? It's going to be her holding 4 cats.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean? Because that's my fucking fault. It's my fault. And I'll tell anybody right now, everybody, like so many men out there will be like, yeah, these bitches suck. They try to control me. It's like, yeah, do you need to be controlled?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like all these guys want subservient women, and it's like, unless you're subservient to another authority, I don't know, God,
exactly.
Like, how do you think you can lead other people? Like, and it's the honest thing about it is just like, who do you deserve? Like, do you want a partner or do you want a mom? Like, is that what you're trying to do? Trying to just turn your lady into your mom? Like,
they either want a mom or a maid or just what they call it, I was gonna say anime. The word's not anime I'm looking for, but they just want
a waifu.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I don't know if my daughter's in the room or not, but I was gonna say a sex toy, but like a real life. She's just there for you to, get your rocks off, but you don't even invest in her mentally. You just like, do what I say. We kick it sometimes. She's not even a real friend. I know guys like my wife is my best friend. I tell it. I tell my homeboys know too. My wife is my best friend. But some guys like they don't even like their girls. She's just there so they can get their rocks off, and that's
well. And even better, it sounds like the way your wife is with you. It's like somebody talks about like one of the major things they talk about when you're picking your wife or you're picking your woman. You pick somebody you can go to war with. You know, and it's like the minute your other half keeps you vulnerable or you make them vulnerable, it's like it's over. Like a house divided can't stand.
Exactly.
And it's like you can live like my parents got divorced when I was 10, military dad, he bailed, but then like 13 years later he comes back.
Yeah.
Still doesn't feel right. I always say they're glorified roommates, but you know, they work for each other. But I go on the outside, there's just this thing of like, I'm dealing with two individual people who I have to change how I interact with under the same roof.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it works for them, but like my wife and I, it's like, I honestly don't fathom the idea of us not doing things in tandem, in team. Like, you know, it sucks that, you know, in this day and age, it bums me out that I'm, you know, I kind of aimed more for the middle. So I'm not like the pure provider or anything, but the idea is that at least if you're willing to make an effort in the other ways, like, you know, show up, you know, do stuff outside yourself. And like with the kid, like, yeah, it is always selfishness. If you don't want a kid, it's like, and I get it. If you physically can't, that happens, or if you miss your window and stuff, but it's like having a child, it's like, it requires you to look outside of yourself.
Yeah. You know, you're living for something greater than yourself.
Well, and I think a lot right now, men specifically, and I'm going to project a little bit, but I think one of the biggest things right now is like purpose. Like men are struggling for the idea of purpose so hard right now, because with the idea of the independent woman, don't need no man. It's like, well, then what is my role? Like, what is my role here? And then when you don't have a child, I'm sitting here like I'm going to my 9 to 5, my 9 to 12, like job that like it feels so pointless, but it's perspective, man. Your paycheck doesn't feel good when it just feels like, well, what am I buying? Like, what am I doing? Am I indulging? Am I trying to build a future? And then when you go, oh, it's feeding my family, like it's taking care of my family, you know, that clock ticks just a little less slow, you know? Feels good.
I remember I had some buddies tell me before my son was born, they were like, because I'm still into shoes, but I had way more shoes back then. And we were doing like a shoe off thing, like, oh, we're going to go this month, who has the dopest collection. But then my wife ended up telling me she was pregnant. And then the guys were like, nah, man, you ain't going to be able to get none of that. I was like, man, what are you talking about? I'm going to be able to do this and that. But no, then you had to sit there and think like, all right, no, I can't afford it. I got to put myself, you got to put yourself to the side, and not like, you know, like, oh man, I gotta put my, like I enjoy sacrificing some stuff for them.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's just like look at what you get to gain. Like it's like people spend so much time. It's the thing that people say. It's like you're time traveling all the time. It's like you're either worrying about what you did or didn't get in the past, like what you did wrong or what you missed out on, or you're thinking about the future, how you're not going to have this, or maybe you missed your window or whatever. And it's like, if you're in the present, man, a lot of stuff doesn't even feel like a sacrifice because you didn't even notice you missed it. And it's like, that's why God calls himself I am, because I am is in the present. Like the minute you sit there, you're like, you get to assess everything for what it is, not for what you think it might or should be. Like, honestly, if I'd have gotten what I wanted, I'd probably be dead right now. Like I wanted to work. I went to film school specifically to work at Rooster Teeth Productions down in Austin, Texas.
What's that? That sounds familiar.
I'm wearing an Achievement Hunter thing. And it was an internet production thing. They're famous for Red versus Blue. And I actually got a guy who's one of my audio dudes. I ended up doing some like voice acting for him for his audition, and he became a lead audio mixer for Rooster Teeth. Dude, he got to work with like Michael B. Jordan and stuff on a couple of and David Tennant. It was so cool. And I never made it out there. Never got the chance, never got the call. And now they don't exist anymore. They just closed their doors like a few months ago. And I go, they're in Austin, Texas, essentially the San Francisco of Texas. With my drinking problems and stuff, man, I'm like, I wouldn't have made it. And then COVID, like their establishment was all masked up. Everybody vaxxed, everybody. They're 100% into it. And I'm like, that wasn't me. Nah. When people called for lockdowns, my wife and I were outside more than anybody on the planet. We were playing Pokemon Go every day.
What's up? Hold on, got my son. What's up?
All good.
What you want to be on the stream? Come on.
Yo.
Hold on.
Special guest.
He won't be able to hear you. Come down this way. They're my twin right here. My other twin. This is my other twin. Too. He my twin too, Kai. Look, we both bald and bearded. All right, love you.
Awesome. See, wealth.
Yeah,
right
yeah. I'm surprised my daughter ain't in here. She was in here. She came in early before we started. Before I called you on, but she they know that like I tell them I don't mind them coming in, but like just don't be loud in the background. Like I don't want to be able to talk here. It's
all right. It keeps it interesting.
Yeah, but no, they're well behaved. They were a lot better than me and my sister coming up.
There you go.
Like you gotta talk to them every once in a while, but I haven't had to spank my kids in a long time.
It's good, man. Good foundation.
Yeah.
I think it's I think a lot of us, given our ages and stuff, I think you're seeing a lot of generational curse stuff being broken.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
I think a lot of people are seeing it.
Yeah.
It just got so wild. I just think nature said you have to just turn the pendulum. Yeah. You're seeing it, man.
Mm-hmm. I've been saying since Facebook, I was like, man, there's what do they call it? What do the church people call it? Not an awakening.
Reckoning?
What the heck is the word?
Revelation?
No.
Apocalypse.
no, it's a good thing, but what do they call those things? Revival. I was like, there's a revival. But I was like, not necessarily in a church, but like the church is the body of Christ. Like,
yeah,
there's been, like you said, awakening works too, but revival that's what I'm.
Well, like. It's the idea, like right now, like the pessimists, the boomer, the people who don't want to be here anymore, they're full on thinking it's end times. Yeah. And I'm like, imagine being so narcissistic. You think you're here when it all ends.
It's selfish.
But I go, what if, when everybody always talks about Christ returning, because there are some people who believe he already did, preterism or something. But like, what's the idea of maybe it's not a physical dude showing up, or it's the idea of Christ consciousness. It's the idea, because you're seeing it online. People are starting to mention it way more, even if right now it's like the argument is more about which religion's right. Shoot, atheists ruled the internet for the last decade.
Yeah, that died out. I used to could stand Twitter atheists around like 2009 when I first got on Twitter to like 2012. You couldn't even mention a guy without him being in your comments, and just they were annoying.
Oh, I get it when you have anger and animosity. Dude, this one will give me hate. I always say I don't like the idea is atheists it's this idea of like they don't really believe in God, or they don't necessarily believe in that God or something like that. I just go, I don't even buy that. I just think you're mad.
Yeah.
Half the time I'm like, I don't even think you hate God. I think you hate religion. I think you hate the church. I think you hate somebody who made you mad. And now God,
usually your dad, usually the dad,
or like the church. Like I get it. What's the first thing everybody talks about? What were the pastors doing in Catholicism? Blah blah blah. And I get it, but it's like you're angry because how God was represented in your life did something that you felt was wrong, or let's be fair,
or like losing a parent
was wrong.
I lost you a little bit. What'd you say?
Well, I was like, to be fair, something that did happen to him was wrong, but they interpret that as God when it's like, the church is not God. Religion is not God. It's not how that works. And and I would even tell people, I don't even think you necessarily need to believe in all that right now. If you don't, I always say, just try and find something true, man. Like the hardest part right now is I think everybody's just so angry and confused that they can't even figure out what truth means.
Yeah. And everything's being distorted.
It's weird.
Weird. I want to go back to my note says I was playing. Forget these notes. But I want to
but if you want to bring me back into culture or something, I don't know. I get weird. I get tangenty, man.
No, it's good. You're making my job easy. I don't have to say anything. The more you talk, the less I have to talk. Which I told you I don't like to. I like to talk, but I don't like talking about myself. But so you mentioned film school. Like, what were you doing there specifically? Like, what were you?
I kind of just did everything. Like, mainly wanted to direct, so I directed a few short films. I got one I'm really proud of on YouTube. It's called Dreamer. It was this like fake like Walt Disney story.
Yeah.
Like a guy wrote the script and I had to direct it for school, and I ended up having to edit it, and I did like Foley sound for it and all this stuff. And I did a lot of like set design. It was like something I had just had my hands on everything, but I also like edited a bunch. I used to act a ton. I did voice acting stuff too. So I just kind of did everything because film school, this was like a real hands-on place. Like we're talking, it was a 24-hour school. Like you'd get a badge and you could sign in it whenever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just did a whole bunch of stuff, and I just started to see the hypocrisy and stuff there and the way things were working. But I mean, the stuff they teach you, it's like wild, dude. It's like I said, it's like going to Hogwarts because you get a peek behind the curtain and how they teach you all these things. It's like, man, then you really see, like, you'll see the propaganda so fast because it's like, oh, I see why they did that. That makes sense. I see what you're doing. And yeah, my whole thing is I was just willing to take anything I could get. Like, you know, I was good at directing just because acting, and I had a little bit of like psychiatry training. Like I wanted to be a psychologist for a bit because I wanted to be a physical trainer, and they usually make you do like psychology stuff. So if you're doing like physical therapy, you can do the mental revigoration of people. Like say they're in a car accident, you can help them with trauma and stuff while you're fixing their body. And that just instinctually moves over to directing. It's so you can connect with people to get emotion out of them and really work with them. And yeah, I just did a lot of that. And then once I got out, it's just drained of money living in essentially Orlando, where I was just hemorrhaging money. And then you find out it's so nepotistic. And then you have to work from the dead bottom, even though like in school you were like clawing yourself to the top ranks. Like you had to essentially audition to get like director spots. So like when I would get them, it's like I'd beat out like another 80 guys. And it was like, you know, so you kind of feel pretty good about it, but then it's like, nope, you're just back to the bottom. And you're like, I can't make payments and live in Orlando and do all this stuff. And so, you know, I moved back to Minnesota closer to family. They all live in Iowa. And it's just like, really, I just ended up doing photography. But now that that's oversaturated too, it's just like, I just do it for fun, or I do it for family or friends. Like I would shoot weddings and stuff for friends for way too cheap.
Oh, you sound like we really are twins. Except I think you're smarter than me.
Oh, come on. No, you have a family. I think you might have been the smarter one.
That's wisdom. That's different.
There you go. I like it. Thank you. You're selling me better than I sell myself.
I was gonna say. So do you have like? Do you still have a passion for it? Would you still, if certain things were in place, would you still get involved with filming or any type of project like that?
Not like in the traditional sense.
No.
Like going out to LA or anything but like to actually shoot sketches or like edit for people and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always had a flair for speaking and acting and all that stuff. And it's just like I said, it was just such a bad time in my life to try and take off that it's like, I feel bad, but I was essentially turning into like a Rekieta story. Like it was like, I was overindulging. I was getting angry. I was making big mistakes. Yeah, man, it was just really wild to kind of see that. And then you just go, fuck, I jumped out like right at the right time. Like it was so funny. I was thinking about a lot because like I said, I ended up on Robert Storms a couple of times and I saw him kind of implode a little bit. And then I actually did a stream a while back with Ryan Kinnell, who does RK Outpost. He's on like Friday Night Tights and stuff.
I've heard of Friday Night Tights. But I don't know what the other thing is.
He does this thing. He's like one of those like Geeks and Gamers guys, does like news stuff every day. I actually did a stream with him like before his stuff blew up because it was talking about trying to save the Star Wars EU. And then like him and I did like 1 or 2 streams about when the first season of Mandalorian came out. And it was really funny because I was digging the first episode and then I was like, the second episode's kind of dumb. And then I was out by 4. And I was
I
just like,
hate
oh,
that.
this is stupid.
That's why it pisses me off because loved the I love the Star Wars franchise. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I even like the whole episode one. I loved it. Like I didn't think Jar Jar
The
Binks was a
prequels.
representation. I didn't think Jar Jar Binks was a representation of me. I didn't look at him and say, "Oh, that's a Negro right there." Like I just thought he
Jamaican,
was.
right? What'd they say?
Yeah, I just thought he was a retard.
Every
Can I
time.
get counts for that? But
What does the hard R even mean anymore? Which one is it? Is it
yeah.
retard?
So when I saw that, I enjoyed it, and then I seen there were other movies coming out recently, and I was like, I'm gonna get to them, but I went to guys I trusted online and listened to their reviews because they didn't do spoilers, and they just basically were like, "Man, this is if you really love the franchise, love it, then you're gonna hate the movies." So I just never got into them.
That's good. You got lucky. A lot of them are hard to see. I was all pumped for Force Awakens because I was a
Yeah,
big John Boyega guy.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I saw Attack the Block and I was like, oh, dude, he's the next big thing. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
huge. He's gonna be huge. And I was all pumped for a stormtrooper turned potential Jedi or something.
Yeah.
I was like, that's it, dude. And then Last Jedi happened and I felt like my whole reality broke because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I walked out and I'm like, I think that sucked. I think that sucked like really bad. And then like Jurassic World had just come out too. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was a huge Jurassic Park guy. I even defend the Lost World. And I'm like,
I had it on DVD. I enjoyed it.
I like the Lost World. There's some stupid stuff in it. I get it, but like, but I was just like, man, is this stupid? And that's why I'll shout out Mahler again. Like I started listening to his stuff, and then all of a sudden EFAP, I watched that come up, and they do this thing where they'll take other creators to task. They'll pull their like defense of a movie video up, like their video essay, and they'll just dissect it and be like, he just lied. Like that didn't happen. Like that didn't happen. And then you really get to break it down and you're just like, okay, I'm not crazy. And then it was literally like, I was already in that span of learning to think for myself before COVID hit. And then I'm like, everybody had COVID where everybody had that existential crisis of like, am I crazy? Like, am I going crazy or is everybody else going crazy?
Yeah, everybody's going crazy, but they call you crazy. So, like me, I just like, no, I'm crazy. I'm the crazy one. It's not you, it's me. You know.
And I'm fine being crazy. And at this point, I'm like, cool. All right, we can go be crazy on our own, on our own paths, and we'll see in 10 years. We'll see we'll see how it goes.
You know what helped me become more analytical about movies? Me and my wife, we used to watch those Cinema Sins videos and the what was the one? There were one about the guy would do the I forgot what it was. Honest Trailers. He would do the Honest Trailers.
Oh yeah.
And that happened to coincide at the same time I was, listening to all the truth movement stuff, like you said, the Alex Jones. So I'm already like, everything's Illuminati. The devil's in there. Like so
33s everywhere.
Yeah. Freaking one eye symbolism everywhere. Yeah. And so I was seeing that stuff, and then I'm like, so it helped me see the BS, the surface level BS, but then the truth side, helped me see the deeper, BS being pushed. And then like the Bible just helped me see the spiritual BS. It's like, it just kept getting deeper and deeper. Yeah. So now,
I just always tell people, it's like, look at the Bible. Don't like freak out when you hear Jesus, because that's like some demonic shit. It's like, just look at it like a story. Like I've told people, I'm like, fine, don't believe in it. Just read it and see what you think. Because I'm like, read it like a script. Read it like the script of a movie and find what's true in it. And then your body will tell you if it resonates.
Yeah. Because like I was even some people that they'll tell you they've read the Bible and I'm like, you obviously didn't read the Bible.
Yeah.
Because like if you read through like, what is it, Numbers or Leviticus, like it's some way it just goes off and it does, like nobody that's trying to persuade you to read something other than God would have put that much it seems mundane that you're like, man, I want to read all so and so begot so and so, so and so begot so and so, and then like,
it's just, and also it's a history lesson. I mean,
that's why I understand. So that's why I read it. Go ahead.
And it's like, because I always tell people it's the hardest part is they're like, well, what version and blah blah blah, and I'm like, dude, I totally get that. That's why I see, like, I can see why people like Islam. It's one book. One book, no nonsense. Totally get it. But I go, again, it's like a story. You get books revised all the time. The thing that you need to find is just read the stories, read them, find what you can find in them. And then, you know, you have a long life. It's one book. You know, how many times can somebody read, you know, Game of Thrones?
Yeah. It's 66 books. There's going to be somebody. It's 66 books. They're going to correct.
It's not like you need to do numbers every time. You don't need to read all the Psalms all the time, but it's like, you know, refresh the same, because really all the Gospels are, it's the same story told from different point of views.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is like, treat it like a movie, dissect it. It'll make you feel better. And then there's points where you'll sit there and you'll go, what's true? And then people get mad because it's like, well, how is there truth? It's all everybody's interpretation. And I do this with my mom all the time. And I was like, Mom, the interpretation's for you. Like, that's the biggest thing. Is it's like, well, it's my truth and I'll change. I'm like, cool, that's fine. Go, because what I'll tell you will mean nothing. It's like an addict. I can tell you whatever. I'm not going to change your mind. You need to ask yourself, why did you interpret that way?
Yeah.
Why? It's like, and then the minute you realize, why did I take this away from that story?
Yeah.
There you go. That's where you start to learn. You win or you learn.
Yeah. And if you're open and honest with it, it'll be revealed to you. But if you go in there with preconceived notions and things like, I'm just going to try to prove, well, so it has happened. People try to go in there proving it wrong, and then it just is opening their mind.
Yeah.
That's another reason I tell people, I'm like, you haven't read the Bible, because Paul tells you how to, if you want to discredit Christianity, how to discredit it. He says, if Christ is not risen, then our labor is in vain. So if you wanted to attack it, you have to attack the resurrection. But like, they attack on other stuff, and I'm like, it's even stuff like, it's so much of the Bible, I can't know everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I don't know, but I believe it because Christ rose from the dead. So I can start from there. And if he said this happened, if he said Moses existed, then Moses existed. And if like, and
I'm always like, just treat it like it's true for a little bit and see how it feels. Like, I get it. That's a little bit of cope, but I go like, when I would read Genesis or something and I'd be like taking it literally, that's when I would start getting into those rabbit holes about like how mountains are petrified old trees, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, is the earth not spherical? I won't say flat because that triggers people, but I'll be like, you know, is there a firmament? Because even people fight about that. If let's even say we're in a room of everybody who believes there is a firmament, there'll be disagreements there. It's like, is it a hard dome like an aquarium, or is it just like layers of fluid, or is space even real? And it's like, I go, at some point, like, isn't it kind of fun to just figure it out? Like, I don't know. People just get so mad about it so fast. And I'm like, there's something in you that makes you mad.
Yeah, like the whole flat earth thing. Like, I don't freaking know. But even posing the question, it triggers a emotional response of people where they're just like, if I mention flat earth now on my timeline, people they won't just say that's not true because this. They'll go into insults, and I'm like, why did you resort to insults? Even people that's been following me, I was like, you know me, like, so why did you come at me that way? But I don't take offense to it.
Well, I think it's like two things. I think it's nobody wants to see their idol disagree with them.
Yeah,
and people like to make idols of people real quick. And it's like, when you disagree with somebody that you put a lot of faith and stock in, I mean, you're seeing it with Nick Rakita, you saw it with Steven Crowder, you saw it with Alex Jones, you see it with Trump. Like, the minute you put somebody up here and you let them start navigating for you, when they screw something up that's blatant, you take that personally, because then it also, not only does it make you realize that you opened yourself up for that because you were too weak to do it yourself, but now you feel stupid.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to feel stupid. Nobody wants to feel like a sucker. And the minute you're like, because what if the earth was flat? You'd be like, I got tricked for that long.
Yeah.
Like, how did I not see that? Or the other way around, or you're just like, oh man, I really like this guy, so now can I not trust anything else he says? Like, is he just retarded? And I go, well, maybe, but at the same time, it's like, you know, are you listening to him so he can think for you, or are you listening to him because he's entertaining? Like what are you doing? What's your intent?
That's why I like Hotel Jesus so much. You know about Hotel Jesus?
Dude, to be fair, it's the internet. I hear that title on a lot of people. I don't know.
Oh yeah. No,
is there
like,
a
I don't agree with
definitive one?
No, I don't agree with him, but I love it because everyone shoot, it's almost been 4 years. That's crazy. Can't move out of that light. They can't. I got to get a better light. But you was in front of the light. I'm talking to my son. I'm sorry, but nah, I like how he operates on. He has a lot of information. I agree. Most of the information he gives, I agree with. But that's something I don't. But like, I love the way he operates sometimes online, where he'll just put something out just to trigger people, and it's funny to me because I've learned, like, if I don't agree, I know what he's doing, so it doesn't trigger me. But two, like, even if I don't disagree, it's just like I can go on about my day.
Yeah.
But but people don't do that. They get in emotions and they feel the need to write. And he'll mention it on the show, which you get to learn a person's character. They speak about something for 4 years. You're gonna learn a person's character. So I'm like, oh, he likes the so-called trolls sometimes.
It's why I like Twitter. It's like the best focus group you could ever find. It's almost every demographic, every point of view, even to the point of like essentially AI is telling you. So you even get like an amalgamation of what the most frequent things are, and it's like, what's the joke for the internet? If you ever want the right answer, say the wrong answer.
Oh,
like if you're ever looking for the correct answer to a question, just give the wrong answer. And it's like, and I get it. It's just so hard. Like when I talk about the rabies thing, you know how many people are gonna fucking flip out about it? It's like, I lost 500 dogs to rabies, and it's like, look, I get it. It's like, can I just be the crazy? I literally told somebody today, I'm like, I feel so confident. If you can prove to me that the living animal in front of me 100% has rabies, I'll let it bite me. And people were like, oh, well, big talk on the internet. I go, no, because there isn't a test to prove it.
Yeah, it has to be true, because I saw old Yeller, and he shot that dog, and now I have an emotional attachment. So congratulations. Thanks to the CIA.
Well, it's like everybody, the COVID vaccine has to be real. It has to work. It has to be real. Otherwise, I just got duped.
Exactly.
And then it makes you question the rest. Like, my sister's like a head nurse at a hospital, and I'm sure it wasn't great to have her brother not being about the mask, being like, I'm probably about to lose my job because I refuse to get the vaccination.
Yeah.
And she's just like, are you crazy? What is wrong with you? And it's like, I couldn't imagine being in her shoes. Like, this is your job. What if it is a lie?
Yeah.
Now everything you've done is insane. Like, and you're culpable to it. And then it's like, but it's like, I get it. I absolutely sympathize with her. And it's like, how 100% can I be? It's like, I can't really, but at the end of the day, I made a decision. I feel very comfortable with the decision.
Same.
But why are all the other people so angry?
Yeah.
Why?
And like, I have friends that got vaccinated. I don't even clown them for getting it, even though I think it was foolish. But like, I'm not, castigating them or anything like that. But I just wanted people like, did you think? Because I have friends like, okay, I had one buddy, and he got it, but he's Puerto Rican, so he wanted to be able to go back and forth to Puerto Rico. So I was like, okay, you want to travel? I got another buddy of mine. I'm like, okay, you're overweight. You're part of that population where they, the higher mortality rate. I get that, but if you are freaking between 18 and 35, whatever, somewhat healthy person, you're good. Your kids definitely didn't need it. You should, and there's a lot of people. Yeah. And I don't know any people who openly admit that they got it for their kids, so I don't speak on that. I don't know.
Well, and I get it. Every man, woman, they have their, I mean, they have what they have. Like, the biggest thing is, I kept telling my wife with this, the reason why I'm doing this is because if you do not draw a line in the sand, it will be drawn for you.
Exactly.
And I go, if I'm wrong, it was my decision. And I'm wrong. if I do this, I did it out of fear, and I will no longer make decisions in my life based on fear. I
Yeah.
won't do it.
I got some buddies online. One guy, he was upset at his friend. Guy I interact with a mutual on Twitter. He was upset at his friend because his friend didn't get the shot and ended up dying with COVID. I ain't gonna say he died of it. He died with it, and he was mad at him. But I'm like, I respect him. He died.
Yep.
You know, he lived by his code. I respect the man that lives by his code, whether it's right or wrong, because that's the person I've been.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm on the duality of that these days.
yeah.
Like when I see people wearing a mask out in public still, I'm 50-50. Like I feel bad because I'm like, man, that's your life now. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're just going to do that. But then I also go, I kind of respect it because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a person that believes it. That's a
Yeah, you
person
actually
that
believe.
you believed it. And I'm like, you know what? Respect to you. Who am I? Who am
Mm-hmm.
I to say? Because people would look at, like, I remember this was one of those times where I remember really wanting to work towards my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Was I was watching some mosque in Turkey a few years back getting bombed, and they were like all praying, and then all of a sudden the first bomb drops and a bunch of guys stand up, and then a bunch leave, but then another bomb drops and a few of them can't quite decide what they want to do, and then some never got up, some stayed
Mm-hmm.
there and kept praying. And I go, man, those people that just never got up, they believed. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I want that. And I
Mm-hmm.
go, and I get it. If you did that with COVID, it's like, I kind of respect it. It's like, at least you ran through with your convictions. You might have been wrong. Who knows? You might have been right. Time can still tell. But I'm like,
Yeah.
you made a call and you stood by it, and that's respectable. A lot of people can't even do that anymore, or even
Yeah.
admit when they're wrong. You can't
Yeah.
even do that.
I've had to learn to drop my pride on that.
Oh yeah,
I'm
it's
I'm
been a
cool with being.
humbling few years.
Yeah. I'm cool with being corrected now. At first, like I told you, I used to take it personally if someone disagreed with me, because it's like, what are you disagreeing for? I'm right. I know I'm right. Now I did tell people. I know people got mad at me on Facebook a while back because I said I never. If I'm speaking on something, I never believe I'm wrong. And if people were mad, I was like, wait a minute, are you talking thinking that you're wrong? I was like, I'm not saying that I can't be wrong. I'm
Yeah,
not speaking thinking I'm wrong.
yeah.
And
I've like, are you manipulating me? It's like
yeah,
somebody. Okay, I'm gonna keep. I know I'm gonna sound like a simp, but like Owen Benjamin would always say, I might be wrong, but I'm not lying.
yeah,
And I like that, like,
yeah,
because a lot of times the hardest, because you can't ascribe intent to people, because the minute you try to do that, like, that's when you
mm-hmm,
start to get mad, because you can't know
mm-hmm,
another man's heart, like, you
yeah,
can't. And it's like the minute you start ascribing motive to the other party, you just get pissed off because you're like, oh, you're
mm-hmm,
doing this to fuck me over. And it's
yeah,
like, they probably don't even know who you are,
yeah,
and it's like, and sometimes you got to do that with yourself. It's like,
mm-hmm,
am I only making this decision because I'm scared, or because I'm
mm-hmm,
selfish, or because I just don't want to get yelled at anymore, or
yeah,
like, why are you doing it?
mm-hmm,
And that's all. It's just a little self-reflection goes a
yeah,
long way these days.
yeah. And going back to like a lot of people, when you talk about putting motive on people, like some, you gotta understand there are evil people, evil organizations, but most of the people that we interact with, like when Target does something, even the person at that counter, they don't know, they just trying to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
Or even like in the CIA, I'm pretty sure there's some low level guys that are like, oh, they really believe they're doing an honorable thing, and
Yeah.
they mean well.
It's like, do
And
you think every teacher who taught you the food pyramid or taught you we went to the moon, that they all work for the Illuminati? Like, do you
yeah,
think
yeah,
every school teacher? It's like, no, they were just doing their job. They were
mhm,
operating on bad info.
exactly. Some people are evil, some people are just ignorant, and that's just it. Just is what it is. You're supposed to handle that accordingly. That's like me and a buddy of mine. He likes Charlie Kirk. I don't like Charlie Kirk because I think Charlie Kirk is smart enough to know that the stuff he's saying is going to be offensive and hurtful. Because I'm like, I don't believe in the political system, but you do, and you support Trump. But the
Mm.
stuff you do and say is, it's good. He's smart to know that stuff he does and say is going to hurt Trump, especially in an election year. So
Yeah.
whether you believe it or not, like if I believe something, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hold off until November on these takes. I'm gonna write them down, take
Yeah.
this and put them, save them for later. But I was like,
Maybe 4K. Like, dude, and at revelations just means revealing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like, it's the idea of like, it's people are at this point, they're gonna show themselves. Like,
mm-hmm,
like I said, when I was going down, man, a few years back, like you could just see the unhinged nature. Like some of the stuff I was doing, you could just tell. It was like one of my favorites was I don't even know if it's still up, but there's a video some dude made on me because he was talking about Arcane, and I really like that. It's on Netflix. It was like a League of Legends cartoon. I recommend it if you're like into anime.
Man's plugging Arcane on my podcast. Man, what do you? Nah, I've heard it's good too, but I haven't watched
good.
it.
And it's
says good.
And it was funny because like I was sitting there and he was like, he didn't like it, but I liked it. But I had some funny comments about it because, you know, everybody talks about woke and shit. And not that it doesn't exist. I know it exists.
Yeah.
But, and, you know, Netflix, you know, Edward Bernays' nephew runs the freaking company, the king of propaganda. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it and it was funny because he wanted to talk about it. And I'm like, okay, I've talked with you a couple of times. I've done a couple streams with you. Sure. Yeah, I'll get on. I'm like, but like, can we like not record or do a stream or nothing? Cause he wanted to get on Discord. And I'm like hammered right now, but I'll talk with you about it. Sure. He brings me on fucking Discord. And I made like an observation. I made a joke. He's like, oh, so what about Arcane? I'm like, I don't know. There seemed to be a lot of chicks and black people. And I was like making a joke. I was kind of like making a joke because I didn't get to finish. Because then all of a sudden he brought in like all these other dudes and they all started like cackling like hyenas and they couldn't believe I said that. And I go, no, my point is I really like the show, but if you watch it, it has those woke elements. It's like you have the like black golden haired Wakanda queen pushing Jace around making his decisions. You have her mom who runs this big thing and literally has these like white twink slaves. If you look at the show,
slaves,
I get it.
My bad.
I get it. I wouldn't take them because they burn out in the sun. They burn out in the sun too fast. But I get it. But then you have like, if you look at the show, like almost all the male characters are either cucked, evil, or die. And I go like, even like the Asian military police guy, he ends up like you find out that he was like a sabotager, like a traitor, and he kills himself. Like the two dad figures die right off at the beginning. Caitlyn and Vi have a lesbian relationship. You know, and there's well, but I'm like, but so people are like, you have a fucking problem with that? I'm like, no, they're just observations. I still think the show is good. Like I even made a joke that there's a character called Echo who has the, of course, Killmonger haircut. And he ends up being like the leader of this like underground that's coming up, and they like fly on these like cool like hoverboards and stuff. But I go, it's really funny. I go, I know they're reintroducing that character, and it's like, why? Because literally in that episode, the first music they play, it's all rap music.
Yeah.
And I go, it's the first episode to do it. And I go, so Echo's back. And they're like, why? I'm like, because it's rap music. And people would go, but I'm like, the songs are bangers. The problem is it's just funny. It's an observation. And it was one of those things where it's like, if you don't let me finish, the beginning part sounds insane. It's like, you noticed a lot of black. I'm like, yes, all the minorities and all the women are all in a position of authority, or they're actual like stereotypes.
Yeah.
And I go, but is that bad? I go, not really. But when you know what they're doing, it's annoying.
Yeah. Because, well, you mentioned something earlier. You were like, good art, it's more subtle, right? Or something like that with the propaganda or whatever you're trying to push. And I had been thinking recently, I was like, that's why a lot of Christian movies suck, and a lot of the new movies that the liberals push in Hollywood suck, because the propaganda is no longer, it's too on the nose now, and it's just like, I want to be able to try to, or even like the evil symbolism. I'm like, man, I used to have to look for the symbolism. Now it's all in your face. It's no fun.
It's like a joke. Like if you watch like a CW superhero show a few years back, if like, especially Batwoman was the best version of it. It was like, if they introduced a white character, they were most likely going to be evil. You're like, oh, he's the villain. He's the bad guy. It's like, oh, the black lesbian. It's like, how do people exist in this town? Everyone's gay. How is there even a population? And you're just sitting back and you're like, you can almost call it, because it's like a formula now. It's like the Marvel formula, but for the LGBT. It's like, oh, I saw that coming a mile away. Let me guess. She's gonna she's going to have a great backstory and she was always powerful. She's the chosen one or the key to everything. And
Yeah.
all the men actually suck or are evil.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it.
I remember I was watching one cartoon on I found on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it, but I remember I was watching it with my son. And there was some girl, she was like an alien. She wasn't an alien, she was from Earth, but she was like, I think she was raised below the terrain or whatever. And so she ends up their little hometown underneath the crust gets raided, and she has to go. She ends up on the surface, and she finds a black kid. And he says that right there he has this bug friend, and he says at the end that he thought he's the first humanoid that she's met. Right. So we get about 6 or 7 episodes in, and she starts to develop a crush for him, and she tells him. And I was like, "Oh, there, that was fast." She tells him, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." She's like, "Oh, what? You don't feel that way about me?" Then he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm gay." I was like, "How are you gay? You've never even seen a human. You've never even seen a human before until her, and you already like." I was like, "This is stupid."
And it's funny because people, well, and it's just the rewriting of history. It's what you always see. It's just like, you're like, well, there's no gay acceptance. I'm like, I don't know. I remember Ellen and Will and Grace, and I remember all those. Like, you're telling me Fez didn't have those elements in
Straight out for what they call it, crap for a straight guy, all that.
And it's like, oh yeah, there were no black people back then. I'm like, oh yeah, because Apollo Creed wasn't a thing, Lando Calrissian wasn't a thing.
They live in color, man. They clown on everybody.
Dude, I think superior to Saturday Night Live, in my opinion.
No, I agree. Because they weren't afraid to. They weren't afraid to push the barrier. SNL kind of had to play it safe with certain people.
Dude, what was it? Fuck, is it? Homie the Clown.
Oh yeah.
Homie, don't play that, dude. The Wayans brothers, man, all those guys, they were just on another level. White Chicks, still one of the funniest comedies out there.
Man, that's probably one of the most talented comedic families.
Dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like even the sister, even the sons. I'm like, God dang, your whole family.
Jeez, they should buy Africa.
Make it Wakanda. We're gonna get a Wakanda. It's gonna be sponsored by the Wayans. Shoot, they are Africa.
Funniest fucking thing, dude. Everybody's all talking about colonialism, and Wakanda's literally an ethno state. Like, come on.
I hated that because I hated that. It was a couple reasons. Because
I didn't like that movie. I was just like, everybody was like, for real, you didn't like. I'm like, I saw it in theaters, loved it. It was the first movie I felt like it tricked me. Because I was like, I loved it in the theater, and then I left. I go, I think that's shit. Like, I watched.
The more you watch it, the more it sucks, right?
Yeah, well, because I was like, he was so cool in Civil War, and then he gives him they give him a crappier suit, and they kill off Claw, who was awesome, and I was like,
man, we are twins for real. I was like, they shouldn't have killed off Claw. He was I love my feelings insane, and Killmonger had some of the dumbest lines. They were cringe, like. What did he say about the little slave ship storm? I was like, that is cringe.
Bury me with my people. I'm like, motherfucker, you're from Oakland.
My daughter. Fuck? Hey, baby. Oh, they lost you. Hello. You can't see her the whole time. Say hey to the people. Well, he the only people right now. We're gonna have.
Yeah, I'm the only people in the future.
In the future, for the future people, for the future followers. You all right? All right. I had to make sure she didn't unplug anything.
Now that was my whole transition, man. Like I loved Infinity War, skipped Captain Marvel, Black Panther tricked me, so I got kind of mad. Then Endgame came out and I lost it. I had we did like a 5-hour podcast where I was just telling them why it was just so shit. It was going to age bad and they didn't do anything. It was all garbage and it was going to get worse and worse. And they all called me crazy. And then I was like, Far From Home recontextualized the barf scene from Civil War with the hologram tech, and I got really mad. And then I was just like, I hate this. And then I tried 2 episodes of WandaVision and I go, this is gonna get stupid. So then I left. And then I was finally out on the 4th episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, because that was like, okay, I like Falcon, I like Sam Wilson, I really like Winter Soldier. We can do this. Bucky's got like the cool story. I was still mad he didn't get the shield, but whatever. I was like, whatever, they can figure this out. 4th episode, I'm like, man, this show really wants me to hate John Walker, and I don't see what he's doing wrong. I was actually getting mad that they were making him too perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in his introduction, it's like he's jumped on like 4 grenades, and I was like, "What the hell?" He's got 4 medals of honor, and he could use the shield perfect. And I was like, "He's not even a super soldier. What the hell is happening?" And then somebody goes, "Oh yeah, he does the thing with the helmet, so he jumped on 4 grenades." I go, "Do we remember that Steve didn't even jump on an actual real live grenade?"
Yeah.
I was like, they made this dude better than Steve, and I'm like, I'm not feeling this.
Nah.
And then they tried to make him a villain, and I'm like, he's literally the hero. John Walker did nothing wrong. Like, I don't know.
And I heard they did the exact opposite with Wanda, because I skipped over her stuff. I didn't want to watch it. I just like, I'm just gonna watch the movies. And I tried to watch, what's that one with Doctor Strange? I watched about like
Multiverse of Madness or whatever.
That's the one with the girl that gets you introduced, right?
Yeah. And they're like teleporting everywhere.
Yeah, like I got up to the part where he was like, he said something about her 2 moms, and I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah. A female utopia where there's somehow people, even though it's like all women.
Yeah. Because what really?
Sure.
I'm just going back on the stuff I hated too, because I'm going back because I watched Eternals. I was like, man, this has so much potential. And then black guy gay too. And I was like, I hate you guys. I hate you. It's always a black.
Well, like I said, dude, what is that? They either want to put dudes in dresses and make them gay, or they want to shave the head of every woman.
Dude, no.
Dude, black people, I'm with you. I think there is power in your hair. I think there's some bullshit there. I think that's why they want you to shave your head all the time.
Well, did you watch the second Black Panther movie? I know you were out on, but did you watch it?
But I keep up to date though.
Like we went to the movies and watched it. We went to the movies and watched it. It has potential. I said what I told my wife was it has a better story. Like there's a better story being told than was in Black Panther, but it's not a better movie than Black Panther.
And that's saying much, man. That's saying a lot if you're worse than the first Black Panther shit.
Yeah. Like, because they try to shoehorn in Ironheart and all this other stuff. And then, like, at the end, we're in the movies watching it. And then when they're one of the warriors, she has a husband in the first one. And they don't end up getting back together. So she basically ends up getting with one of the other girls. The girl hands her a cup of like coffee, or whatever. She's like, "Thanks, my love." And you just hear me in the movie. I was just like, I suck my teeth real loud. I think I'm like, man. And then my wife, she gives me an elbow, and I'm just like, man, I'm just tired of it. You see it everywhere. It's annoying.
I can't, man. Like, and it was so funny because like in my old podcast, like 5-6 years ago, I said, "You watch, man. The only way theaters are gonna make money is you're gonna have to start licensing out old shit." Like I told my wife, I was like,
which they are doing.
Dude, I couldn't even believe I called it. I couldn't believe it. Like Jurassic Park is like the top bill of the year. It's like it's 2024. What's happening?
It's crazy.
I go like that's why I felt bad. Like I actually kind of feel bad for this Zoomer generation because I'm like, you didn't even get your own shit. You literally got recycled everything. Like,
they get our music, our movies.
And even their propaganda, nuclear war with Russia. You couldn't even get trying to go to Mars as if we were going. They can't even get to the moon again.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Sorry, Elon. Sorry. You're doing it. Cause that box car, it's crushing your Minecraft truck.
Yeah, that's man. People trust Elon. I hate that.
He wore Antichrist armor to a show, and people are like, he's gonna do it.
That's why I've been making the thread. I didn't even intend to do it at first. It's just that I was listening to him talk. One, I don't like the cadence of his speech, so I can't listen to him for too long. It throws me off. It irritates me. So I remember asking somebody. I think it was at one of his first Joe Rogan appearances, and I said, "Does anybody else get no? This is what it was. It was after the whole Dogecoin thing. I was like, you put on like you were for this, but you're not." And I was like, does anybody else get wolf in sheep's clothing vibes from Elon? I got some pushback, and a lot of people are like, yeah, I've been sensing it too. So anytime I see something that's like wolf in sheep's clothing from him, like even his response to Alex Jones at first, getting back on the platform, I shared it. I just been putting it all in that thing. I was like, I'm making a compilation, and if I have to later on, I'm gonna use that for something beneficial.
Oh, I had a tweet back in like 22 saying I think he's trying to become the technocratic darling while all these platforms die, so
Yeah,
they can
yeah,
make X the one platform where everything goes through it.
yeah. While we're thinking it's Google and iPhone, it's gonna freaking end up being Elon Musk and whatever he had.
Well, originally PayPal was X.com.
Oh yeah,
It's all just coming full circle again, and it's like they want to do payment processors, stream TV, stream movies, stream sports, and I
yeah.
go, the minute you do that, it's like now everybody's got to get their biometrics done. Like my job asked for that, and I do a job. I essentially stock shelves, and I'm like, you want my biometrics? Like,
Yeah,
nah,
like,
I didn't sign that. I was like, fuck out of here. And I just go, it's like, well, why? It's like because they want to make everything digital. It's not that hard. Like, Australia's having to get digital IDs now.
yeah.
Like,
You know what? I've been skeptical about that. Like I've been saying to myself, I was like, I don't want to be a part of that. But this is just my belief. I don't think it would be Christian to reject it because someone has to go into the metaverse, so called to preach the gospel. You have to go into it. If you're going to preach to all nations, eventually that's where everybody's going to be. Now, I'm not saying do anything sinful. Like I'm not saying.
You have to learn that not everybody goes.
Yeah, and that too.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like people make a choice, and sometimes they make the wrong choice. Like God hates a fence sitter.
Yeah, exactly.
He actually don't come to me lukewarm, I'll spit you out. It's the idea that let him make the choice. You're not here to save everybody. That's not your job. Yeah. Your job is to preach it, and then if somebody wants to hear it, there you go. That's why you speak that's why you speak in parables. It's like a movie or a show. Everybody walked away from the same movie, same story, saw the same thing, but for some reason, everybody got something different. How'd you do that? And it's the thing where, like I said, all you have is you have to take care of you and your family and glorify your creator, however you want to do that. You're not meant to be perfect. This is one of my favorite things I always hear. Only God is perfect and everything is for God. I think Bach said that. And I go, the minute you think about that, it really does teach you that you take care of what you can control.
Yeah.
You are not here. It's like, am I my brother's keeper? It's like, I will not sabotage you, but I cannot tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And what'll happen, it's just like the shots, it's like anything else. The digital currency, I don't think will even be forced as hard as people think. I don't think it's going to be doom and gloom. I think it's going to be a convenience factor.
Yeah.
I think you're going to flip the script where you see there's a convenience fee to use your credit card everywhere. It's like, oh, it's $3 more if you do credit. Well, what if when they start wanting to roll out the digital and really make it good, it'll be out for like a year or two. People will be like, you can just use it. You can trade around here. But then it's like stores will go, all right, it's a cash fee. If you want to use cash, you're going to have to pay an extra 3% because we have to take it to the bank and we got to do all this. And then at some point you'll just choose not to do it because it costs too much.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll just sign up for it, or you make your choice and you go, no, I'm not going to. And it's at the end of the day, everything's just a tool. Everything.
Exactly.
So it's what you do with it. It's your intent. At the end of the day, it's like, I got Bitcoin. I'm on Coinbase. I got some stuff. I got some silver. I got some guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's but am I going to put all my money in Bitcoin and then am I going to sell Bitcoin to other people? No, because I know it's a pyramid scheme. But am I going to diversify my portfolio? Yes.
Man, we are twins, man. You've been saying stuff I've been thinking. You're more eloquent than I am. I'm a simple man.
Well, dude, like I said, I was a little unhinged online for a few years, and it's not hard to go see. I have to represent myself a little bit better now to show the change. So,
I remember I have a buddy of mine. He's big into Bitcoin. He's the one that got me started. I've been slacking on all that, but he told me back in like 2013, 14, 15 about it, and it piqued my interest, but I was scared because I was like, this is I was like, no, this is very this has hints of end time stuff. Like I was like, this is very mark of the beast. This is very mark of the beast. And then I was able, after years of sitting on it, thinking about it, I was like, well, so was, I mean, as soon as you got off the barter system, you were headed towards the mark of the beast. Like as soon as
what do you think a social security number is?
Yeah, I was like, as soon as it stopped being I have this and you have that and I give this to you, and you started putting objects started becoming your currency, that's where we eventually headed and where we're gonna be. But I was like, until it becomes sinful, it's just a precursor. But until it becomes sinful, then I would say don't be afraid of it.
Like I said, well, there you go. You finished it. I was just about to tell you the best thing I can tell anybody nowadays: do not make a decision in fear.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing you can do. It was how my wife and we had to turn down a house that we actually thought was going to be like the house. Like we loved it. We thought, and we were going to start fighting for it, but we were like, no, we said this is how much we could afford. This is what we could do. Yeah. And she's calling me and my realtor's calling me and we're both at work. We're panicking. And she's like, you need to make this decision. I'm sick of making all the decisions. But she had more of the money because I fucked up and I had legal stuff and all just kinds of stupid shit. And so I was like, no, this is your money. You have to know that this is the decision you're making or you're going to resent me for the rest of our lives if it's wrong. Exactly. And so I told her the best thing I could do was go, why are you making this decision? And she goes, I don't want to lose the house. And I go, it was never ours. It was never ours. We never lost it. So if we make this decision, we will be making it out of fear. And I will not start my brand new life with my wife and family on a foundation of fear.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's beautifully said too.
And then she said, okay, we're not doing it. And we called her and now we're in this house and dude, it's the same layout, but it's like finished in a better town. It's like, like divine protection. It was insane.
That's the difference between a good idea and a God idea. Like God stuff is way better than because we might try to do stuff.
Say that again. Say that again. It's the difference
between a good idea and a God idea. Like that first house, that was a good idea. But the house you have now, it's like it's blessed. It was like you said, it was divine. It was ordained. That's a God idea. It's like when we try to, run our own lives, and God's like, hey, now I got a better way.
You're gonna end up on an Instagram reel with that. That was beautiful. I love that.
But you get what I mean, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why I've actually been praying on stuff like that. I'm like, God, I got this idea. Even with the podcast, I'm like, this is a good idea. But if it's not a God idea, I don't even want it to. I don't want it to last. But I want you to let me know. Like, don't have me, because I know some people, they'll pursue a good idea. I don't want to waste 5, 6, 10 years doing a good idea when I could be spending my time investing in a God idea. So I pray about it all the time. And my heart, this podcast has been on my heart forever. YouTube has actually been on my heart since I was 21. I'm 35, going on 36, and I just never pursued it. I kept pushing it.
Oh, good. You're my younger brother. Take that.
Yeah.
The younger twin.
But I'm your big brother. I'm tall.
Yeah, I know. He's tall.
How much you weigh?
Right now, 178.
I'm 191. Yeah, I'm your big brother.
Dude, I was at 235 in my biggest. It was fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
I think I showed you a before and after on Twitter. Yeah. It was rough, bro.
Usually when I get this big, I get sick. Like once I get around 190, 195, every time, because I don't get this weight from being healthy. I get this weight from relaxing on my working out, my diet, and so I start gaining weight. And like it's like I'm not sleeping. I'm drinking energy drinks. I'm eating out all the time, and then I shoot up to 190, and then I get sick, and then I'll go to like 180. Then I'm like, all right, I gotta take this seriously, and then I start working out, and I usually float around 175.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's good. No, I'm glad you're doing it, man. Like a lot of times, everybody's always looking for someday.
Mm-hmm.
Someday's just that's today if you just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I've seen you on Twitter, man. People give a shit what you got to say, and it's like
it's weird.
And a lot of
it's weird to me. It's weird. Yeah. To me. It's even weirder to my wife because I'll tell her, and she's like, "Why are those?"
Well, it's because people don't want that heat, man. You can see it online. People backstab, people do awful things. And don't get me wrong, I'm no saint. Like in my time back then, I made some terrible, terrible decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit back and it's like, it's because I wanted something that I wasn't ready for, or something I didn't deserve, or something that I was forcing. And the thing is that I was doing it for me and not because I feel like I can help others. Like a lot of times when you're struggling with like, what am I supposed to do? For me, for my life, it's like, that's the problem, is how do you serve others? The minute you go out of yourself, the world will ripple back to you. And the idea is that I think that's Twitter. You're the rock out there that hits the water. Your idea ripples out. People gravitate back to you, and they're like, he's willing to say stuff that I'm too scared to, or I don't want to. Or you get to be this focal point where it's like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying exactly what I was thinking for the last 5 years, and finally somebody else said it.
You just said something I tweeted. I said I'm the guy that likes to throw the rock in the water and see the wave. Like, I'm telling you, bro, we twins. We got to meet one day for real.
It's collective conscious, man. It's the idea. It's vibe for your tribe, dude.
Like, it's weird just hearing it.
You vibe, man. And it's one of those things where it's just like, I think what you're doing's good. Like, and if anything, it's like, you're funny.
Yeah.
Like, people need levity in that cesspool, dude. People need jokes. People need to let off steam, because it's just like, man, when you just hate everything, it's like, it's not good. It's not good. You hold on to it.
Yeah. Which is another reason why I started the podcast, because I was like, I keep getting involved in politics. I can't escape it every time I want to get at. Like, even yesterday, I was trying to retweet that lady being funny, the lady from lives TikTok, and she retweeted it, and I was like, oh crap,
here comes.
So I was like, because a lot of the MAGA people are cultists, and they will come in, and then they don't deal real well with dissenting ideas, and so they become annoying to me. But anyway, going back to what I was really supposed to say, I don't want to the political sphere is very grifty and very me, self-centered. I don't really care. A lot of them don't have any standards. They just want to see what they can get out of it. But me, I was like, if I want to do this, I want to do something that's actually going to benefit people. So I even tweeted a while back. I said, in the future, I will be using you guys, talking about my followers. Yeah. I said, I'll basically be exploiting you for my benefit and other people's benefit, because being able to talk to people, that gives me joy. That's my benefit. And I'm able to learn from, having conversations. But everything won't be doom. I won't be all doom and gloom like a lot of people are. Like,
we're in the solution time, man. People are sick of people just bitching and pointing and going, look how shitty they are. It's like, we get it. Like, we know.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's this whole thing of like, I think it's like a reality show, man. A lot of people just want to point and laugh at the retards. And it's like, at some point, it's like, dude, stop casting stones. There's shit to fix in your own life. And even if you have a really good life, all right, move on. How can you help others? Stop stagnating for the sake of just complacency and for self-righteousness. And because of the MAGA cult thing, I love that. Don't you love that the term MAGA is for it describes a high level witch?
Does it? You put me on game, see?
Yeah. I don't know. And it's like, make America great again. I'm just like, maybe it was always great. Why we gotta make it? Why we gotta go back and act like it sucks? Like, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
I love how, like, even people, they're like, when was America great? I was like, in the 90s, it was pretty great. And then somebody was like, they tried to say it's a fallacy because that's when I grew up. I was like, no, I'm 36. I can look back at now. I can look back when we started, look back. I've learned enough history. I'm like, nah, that's pretty cool. We had a decent economy. Race relations were in a better place. Like, even the TV, of course, you had your gangster rap, but there was you still had
Motown, dude.
Yeah, you still had a lot of conscious music that people were like, they might have listened to gangster rap, then they go put on the freaking Africa necklace, and like everything was cool. Like the TV, like I learned a lot from the Bible before I read the Bible, from like stuff like Rugrats. Like they had something on like the Passover, and I learned so much from cartoons. There were so many lessons being taught. Now everything's just silly. Yeah, all of that. Arthur, like they were actually trying to teach us stuff. We were learning. Like I just watched a documentary on Netflix about Reading Rainbow. That jump made me. I was smiling all the way through because I could just remember the joy it brought me as a kid, and then hearing from the people that created, like they actually enjoy what they were doing. Maybe not so much the studios, they just trying to do whatever. But the people usually in the beginning, they had a group that they wanted to reach, and they set out to do it. And
passion shows, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it in YouTube. I think it's like Robert Meyer Burnett or something. He always keeps saying that authenticity is going to be currency at this point. Like you can see when somebody doesn't give a shit about something. You can just see it, and it's just like, why bother? And it's like, I will go back to your old point about when was it ever great? I'll tell you right now, if we were slave timing it right now, because I'm Mexican, German, Irish.
Yeah.
I would much rather switch places with you because cotton is way lighter than potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to just tell you right now, pulling potatoes out of the ground and lumping that sack, nah.
Well, talking about switching places, I was thinking about just how everybody's all like, I was like, would I want to, as a black person, like how we always like complain about statistics and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And how people look at us. I'm like, would I want to take the way white people are viewed of black people? I was like, all right, yeah, they see us as violent, but like that's small scale, but mostly insignificant. But like, or do I want people to think of me as like? I'm not saying this is white people, but like genocidal, like not even really
colonizers.
Yeah, colonizers. Like that's what I was like. I don't want that. That's what
I blame the British for that.
Yeah, but they collected. That's weird too, because we'll a lot of the white guys will like disrespect Europe at a certain time, but want to claim European achievements or Roman achievements. I was like, well, if you claim Roman achievements, you got to claim their homosexuality, the pedophilia. You got to claim all of it.
Yep,
you take it all.
And all them. Yep, and yeah, I mean, dude, I get it, and it's like, well, Chris Rock always had the funniest joke. It's like, ain't no white guy would ever switch places with me, and I'm rich. And yeah, I mean, you think about the like stereotypes. It's funny. There's a culture thing going on right now about boomers, like hating boomers.
I don't hate them; they annoy me. But go ahead.
But when you hear the term boomer, most of the time, you think like old white dude, like essentially the male Karen, old white dude. Probably rides a Harley, Fu Manchu, like the guy from West Coast Choppers or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, you do notice you don't see black boomers. It's not really a thing. Like when you think black boomer, you think like a dude in a suit who used to go to church, probably march with like Martin Luther, like some probably like cell phone on his belt, like just chilling, calling everybody young blood, And it's like, yeah, I mean, white people suck too. Like, I don't get why it's like, it's just funny. That's why this stuff is always funny. It's like, it's why you got to go with jokes, because people know, like everybody, it doesn't matter if you're Indian, black, white, whatever, Asian, pick one of them. Almost all dudes want the same thing. They just want to go to work, not get yelled at, go home to a loving wife, and just like enjoy being home.
Yeah,
in peace, like, and have a laugh, have a drink and have a laugh, unless you're sober like me and can't drink very good, but like
you and me both.
like this, like who doesn't want to just have a conversation with a buddy and just be like, oh good, when I'm done, I'm not going to end up on like CNN getting canceled, never be able to buy something off of Patreon ever again.
Lose your whole bank account. It's
thank God I don't go to Chase Bank or JP Morgan, like that one that just blew up the other day.
Yeah, what was up with that? If you know, I don't know if you know. What is up? Like,
There's probably a tunnel under it.
Are we going there again? We're going there again.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He was talking about Mexican. He's Mexican.
Yeah.
No,
their hats are too big. No, their hats are too big.
Yeah. Oh, sombreros. They won't fit in the tunnel. Well, how does El Chapo do
it? Oh shit. Well, yeah. Helicopters too, though. He's got helicopters.
But he is short too. His name's Chapo, so he might be short enough to wear the hat. Him and the Guatemalans.
Dude, perfect example. He was the government for a long time. Why do you think he wasn't dead all the time? People liked him.
Exactly. Do you remember when that whole tunnel thing happened in New York? I tweeted. I said,
"That's so funny."
I tweeted. I was like, I don't think the Jews did it, because Jews don't normally do
Manual
labor. And then like 2 or 3 days later, they're talking about they hired Mexicans to build the tunnels, and I was like, I knew it.
Well, yeah, they think manual is manual labor. It's like, nah, dude. I think like if you believe any of that mud flood or Tartaria shit, there's probably tunnels already there.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody did make a point. It's like they could have done that because when you're dealing with COVID,
yeah,
how are you gonna do business when everything was locked down?
So it's about money. It's about money with them, huh?
Because if you can just think about the resources you could move underneath,
yeah,
when everything's locked down.
You know what? If that mattress wasn't there, nobody would have looked at it funny. But there was a match. It was that mattress that looked like it had blood on it, and I think it was a high seat or a stroll or something. If
They
those two,
they would have just called it the Hebrew Underground Railroad, and it'd been
exactly.
Fine. Hebrew Tubman. You've been fine.
Yeah, but they're like a mattress stroller. Oh,
didn't look good. Didn't look good.
You're not beating allegations because I think they said that not mosque. Wait a minute, is that what they call it? Mosque. I'm my coffee's wearing off. Temple.
Synagogue.
Oh yeah, synagogue. They said that synagogue, I believe, had some issues in the past, so that was a double strike against them. And yeah,
just read the Talmud.
I need to get every so-called book. I've been listening to a guy talk about the he's Indian, but he's from India, was Hindu, now he's Christian. He's been doing a thing on a show called, I think it was on Cultish, and he's been explaining it. I'm learning a lot of stuff. I'm like, all right, I want to believe him, what he's saying, but I still have to go read it for myself, so that way when somebody says, because I hold more knowledge when I'm able to read it anyway. Like I've listened to tons of. I forgot so much Christian knowledge. It's crazy.
Well, I just why not like check it out? Like I go worst case scenario, it's just another story. Like you can take some from it, dude. I had a theory a while back, and apparently I've seen a couple other people say it, so it felt kind of cool. Is like what if some of these other religions were other prophets that just they fucked up? Like the Buddha was an actual prophet and he was supposed to go preach the word, but he became an idol.
That's possible too.
He got late,
especially how history is where like even with like heroes, that's who the hero really was. But in 100 years, 200 years, people, we change the story, we romanticize the hero, and now that person's no longer actually who they really were.
Yeah, it's that's why it's just the best thing you can do is no idols.
No idols.
Don't do it. Just learn what you can, take what you can from it, use your discernment the best you can, and just ask for guidance. And it's like, if you don't believe in God, then call it the universe, one word, right? Universe, the word, at a point, the minute you at least open your heart to the truth, the truth, the way, and the light, at least you got one of them. It'll lead you.
Yeah, if you're open and honest, because that's how I told people I came to Christ. It all started, like you said, being hedonistic, blah, blah, blah. I was drinking and partying, all that stuff. And some college buddies of mine, they were talking about the Illuminati and stuff in movies and stuff. And I'm sitting there watching it with them. I'm like, y'all are idiots. This is stupid. But I was curious. So I would be up late nights, tweeting, and then I'd listen to the stuff in my free time, just searching. It all kept seeming to lead into the Bible. And at that time, I was a nominal Christian. Oh yeah, I'm a Christian, but you're not living the life. I wasn't even reading my Bible. I was just calling myself a Christian because I went to church when I was little. And so I'm watching videos, and it's gonna sound stupid, but you remember back then in YouTube, you could actually find what you were looking for on the side of the screen, like stuff that actually related to what you were watching. So there was one video that kept popping up at the top, and I would never want to watch it because one, it was too long. I think it was like 2 or 3 hours, and the story might be fake, but it still had gospel points to it. It was about this girl. I think she might have been Mexican. She was Hispanic. She ended up dying and going. She said she went to hell for an amount of time and came back. And it wasn't that scared me. It was the part where she said she seen 2 lines of people, some in white robes and some in some in white robes, some in like red robes, and some in stained, like it was white, but it was stained. And those stained people were going to the same place as the ones with the fully red because they thought they were good. They were living a life where they thought they were good.
Lukewarm.
Yeah.
On the
And
fence.
that's when I realized, like, oh crap, that's me. I didn't go look at like, oh, I'm one of the white or the red. I was like, no, I'm one of the stained people that think I'm good and I'm not. And that just, I prayed that night, and after the end, that's when like conviction of sin. Like, man, I'm telling you, I didn't know the word for it at the time. I'm just being convicted. Man, I'm the worst person ever alive. I'm thinking like, man, I'm headed for hell because I didn't know nothing about assurance or nothing. Like, I'm just like, man, I'm going to hell. I'm dirty. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm filthy. People don't just don't know. I know, but they don't, and it was freaking me out.
Well, and I mean, I told my wife the same thing. Was just like, I have a horrible past, and and I sat there and I go, my conversion or my reawakening or whatever you want to call it, it's like, it's not about balancing a scorecard
exactly,
so I can win some prize at the end. I told her the best I can do is try and live it the best I can. And I'm going to fail from time to time because I'm trying to break 30 years of programming. But at the same time, I go, the best I can do is do my best to leave the world at least balanced. Like all the negative energy I brought into the world, if I can try and at least put it back, or even plant the seeds to make it better at some point, that's it. Not for me. Like, whole planting the tree that you won't sit under type stuff.
Exactly.
That's why you should have kids.
Exactly. You get to pass that on through them. And then like, even like you said, like, I'm just like, God, I don't know. And he knows what we've done. He's like, well, one, don't hold your past stuff against you. Because I used to be a problem with that too, where I was just like, I did this, but I was like, wait a minute, if he's already forgiven me for that, then why? Not like for stuff I do in the present, but stuff way in the past. I'm like, well, he already forgave me for that, so why am I still holding that above my own head? So it's just like, all right, God, I want to do what you call me to do. I don't really know what that is. Sometimes you have those things where it's like, oh, this happened. Oh, no, that was God. That was not me. I know that was God.
Well, and it's like, just think about, like, people always think like just because you forgive, like it's all copacetic. It's like, no, you forgive, but don't forget. Like,
exactly.
The snake bit you. You can forgive it for biting you because it was scared of something, but you don't forget. You don't run back up to it the next day and hope for the best. It's like, and it's like, when we sit there and we're like, oh, we're going to go to hell or somebody's going to, it's like, you don't know that. That's not your call to make. And, and that's why it's like, the minute you start worrying about like, oh, did I make the decision? Am I good enough to go to heaven now? It's like, dude, if you hear how heaven is described, nobody's good enough.
Nobody's good enough
except Jesus and God. And that's it. And the best you can do is just go, I tried. I wanted, and then you get your judgment that you get. And it's like, and I don't get me wrong. I'm on Twitter. I act like an asshole. I call people degenerate from time to time. And it's just like, but it is one of those things where it's like, it's like people are like, well, you can't judge. And it's like, if I'm not doing it, I can.
Yeah.
If I stop doing it, but it's like, am I doing that to make myself feel better, or am I doing it because I know what they're doing is wrong?
Yeah. Because some people do it. They like, I had that problem too. Because even though I was converted, I was still have some stuff I need working, like self-righteousness. So I was saying the right thing, but I wasn't coming from the right place. I wasn't doing it in love like God asked. I was doing it out of self-righteous. We're like, no, I'm the good one. You
superiority. I want to feel good. It's the idea of propping yourself up over somebody else or dragging somebody down to make yourself look better. It's like, dude, addicts do it all the time. I mean, I'm not drinking a whole bottle of liquor. That guy over here is doing heroin. It's like
exactly.
And it's how you justify it. And it's like, just don't get on the treadmill in the first place. If you can't handle it, just get off and do your best. That's it.
I'm trying to think, what else can I? Oh wait, you said something before we finish. You said something. I'm trying to. Man, I'm kind of running low on my brain. I got like 6 brain cells left. No Illuminati. No, they love it. Number 6. I got 7 brain cells left. But wait, you mentioned So would you consider yourself a bear, or are you just like some?
Yeah. I did the whole thing. I sat off for a little while, but then when he started having this whole thing about Paul, That was a big
Paul.
thing.
If
He
you
had Paul Week. He was kind of
Paul from the Bible, Paul.
Yeah, he was kind of second guessing, and I was like, that's so weird. I was kind of doing that too.
Yeah.
Because then there's like some theories about there was 2 Pauls, and then I'm like, I read the letters and they do sound like way different, like they were written by different people. And I was sitting there and I was like, I had all these questions, and he was doing this thing where he was mirroring what I was going through at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And so it was this weird thing of like, the more I saw my reflection there, the more it felt honest. And then like when I would see it happen in my own life and all this stuff, and I was just like, it's been so nice to finally see a guy doing, like, to prove that he's not full of shit. Yeah. And it's like, because I was a huge Crowder guy. I got my stupid mug sitting in the other room, and it's like,
you are gay. No,
dude.
Why are you gay?
And it's like, and then you see stuff with like some of the stuff with Alex Jones and the things he pushes and the things that Crowder pushed, and then and I would run into all these circles, and they all just turned out to be these massive frauds. And I would say, like, don't get me wrong, it's like, well, yeah, were you so great? I was like, but that was the thing. I thought they were going to help me, and that was where I was still in that thing where I was looking for a daddy figure, because my dad kind of sucked, and it was like, and I go, I'm looking for a masculine, not liar in my life. And then he kind of started to be that. But then when I was luckily seeking God at that time, I lucked out that I didn't do that with him. Like, I didn't idealize him. So like when he would say shit I didn't like, I was like, I didn't have to completely write him off. But it was the thing where he is not being shown to be full of shit. Yeah. And, it might happen someday, but I'm like, so far, no. And I'm like, I don't know. Look at a man by his fruits, 4 boys, loves where he's at. Had a similar past to me, almost verbatim. Mine is being rich and famous, but I was like, I was in that industry. I fell off. It didn't work. And now, mirroring that whole thing, I'm just like, there's a odd like connection there. It's like, well, like you and me almost. It's like, it's like I see little glimmers of stuff where it's like, yeah, I'm just vibing, and it's like, oh, well, do you think he's? I'm like, I don't know, but like, I'm real sick of writing people off so fast, I'm kind of sick of it.
I was big on him too. I want to say for at least a good 2 or 3 years. I watch a lot. Man, I try to watch everything from the YouTube streams to the freaking IG live videos, and then when like they were taking stuff down, you had to go to the Clips channel to watch it. And I was big on his stuff too. I don't watch him as much. I don't hardly ever watch him anymore. Anyway, I sort of got away from him. Not in like to knock him or anything.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna.
Nah, I got a lot of Bears. I love the Bears too. I got a lot of them in my file, so they'll probably see this too. But it was one that started around when, like, he would say. So this is not to knock him. It's just to say he would be talking about the Bible, but then when people say something, he'd be like, he's not reading it. So I'm like, how are you going to describe it if you're not reading it? And it was frustrating. But also, I can't remember what influencer said this. They were like, basically, I wouldn't call him my hero, but they were basically like, when your heroes are no longer your inspiration, then just basically move on. Like once they can't inspire you no more, you feel like they don't have any more to teach you, then just move on. You don't have to get all emotional and like, oh, I'm unsubbing, I'm unfollowing. It's just like,
well, it's outgrowing. It's outgrowing the pot that you're in.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, it's like, why would you stay in kindergarten if you're ready for college?
Yeah. What the Bible calls milk and meat.
And it's like, who knows? Maybe you'll get bored and then you just go back in a year or two, because his demeanor is like totally different now.
Yeah.
And then he's not like warpathy like he used to be.
Oh yeah.
And but it's also like, I listened to certain guys and then I just fell off because I was like, it's just a lot of the same. Like, I'm kind of done. Like, don't get me wrong, like I liked Owen Schroyer for a long time, but I was like, I'm good. Like, it's just a lot of point and laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm good. I'll just move on.
No Diddy. I like Crowder too. That's how I got introduced to Owen through Crowder.
Yeah. That's how I mean, Crowder was my first, like I watched couple of his debates, and that came off of the dude. I recommend EFAP to you if you haven't checked that out. If you like movie
send it to me on Twitter. Because as long as it's there, I'm gonna always go.
They'll freak you out because there are some, like the Falcon Winter Soldier breakdown was 11 hours. It was the whole show. But I'm like, I can listen to that in a day because of work.
Yeah. Have you heard of Days of Noah?
Maybe
he's been around for a minute, but he's been focusing a lot on AI and how he does some cultural stuff. But he's been focused on he's very knowledgeable on like psychology, AI. He's Christian too. But he does he'll be like, all right, we're not gonna go that long tonight. He'll do like a 6-hour stream.
I love that stuff because I work a lot.
Yeah, I just listen to it. I put it in my ear and I just keep working, and like maybe I won't take in all of it, but if you take in even a quarter, you know way more than most people will ever learn.
I agree. Oh, dude, my theory, AI. I think Hollywood and studios have been writing scripts with AI for the last 5 years.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I think Batwoman, and some of the Flash, I think most of that was written almost, I'd say 70% AI.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah, there's no creativity. Everything's copy paste. With the lack of creativity, I wouldn't doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's copy
evil can't create. I think Tolkien said that.
No, they can't.
They can only mimic and subvert.
Yeah, I can't remember who said the devil has no new tricks. He doesn't create. He just perverts what already exists.
He influences. That's why God's the creator, and he was just part of the choir, and he influenced. I mean, it's not like, dude, like I said, marketing. You think it's a coincidence that online people now are called influencers?
I know. I hate that term. I don't want to accept that term. I'm telling you, we on the same Wayne League. Because I was like, what does that even mean? Like, I was like, to me, that means manipulator, and I don't like the way the word manipulate, like influence to do what? Like, it's
like libertarians, dude. We want freedom. I'm like, freedom to do what?
Exactly. I mentioned on the podcast the other day. I was like, those guys give me they're like those crypto guys where they seem good and it seems honorable on the surface, but then you can dig into it, they get degenerate as well. Like it's
like a perfect example. I think one of the best libertarian prospects right now would be Eric July with his Rippaverse and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would tell him right now, I was like, I get it. I think he's an honest, super honest dude. I would go, you don't want libertarianism. You don't want that shit right now. All those people trying to fuck up your business right now, without your regulations and shit, you'd be kicked off almost every payment processor right now. You probably lose your lease to the place you're on if one of the Texas councils didn't like you, because the council wouldn't exist. Then we talk about property rights. He'd be like, I got guns. I'm like, do you want to shoot people all week, all the time, all day to keep you from stealing your shit? No, of course not. Do you want the Postal Service or FedEx or these private organizations that ships all your shit? Do you want them to just now be able to create price increases every day because that's not regulated anymore? Of course not. You don't want that. Nobody wants that.
Exactly.
And so it's just like, stop bitching about the systems that you like. But I go, he is creating solutions. That's why I would never knock him, because I'm like, he's doing it. Yeah,
it's a lot of people that they're just all talk. They don't, like I always say, I hate the ones that like, if you don't have a family, I understand that. But it's they're rich enough to already have a family. And then there's always an excuse to, why I can't. Like, bro, it's like, I've been watching you for 4 or 5 years. You've been with that same girl. You're freaking rich. You didn't say you or her had health issues. You always give some other excuse to why you can't have kids. You're just talking. You're not serious about a culture war or trying to make America great or whatever you say it is.
Yep. Oh my God, we have immigration. We're being replaced. I'm like, how many kids you got?
Yeah.
It's like me. It's like, I'm working on it. Like, at least I'm doing that.
Or at least marry the woman you with.
Yeah.
Like these
Stop
guys
pulling out like a coward.
I always say that. I was like, I stay saying that. I think I got that from Owen Benny.
That's so.
I'm
funny.
like, nah, that's gay. I was like, nah, we don't that condom stuff. Nah, that's gay too. Like, nah, we don't do that.
That's so funny. That's fucking hysterical.
Is my wife?
Well, I don't know. I've had you for 4 hours. I guess last last thing, I'll bring it all the way around with the clocks. I go,
all right.
What if flat Earth? I was talking to my wife about this. It kind of blew my mind. I was like, what if we're just in a big clock? You got the stars rotating. You got the sun and moon who are like our hour and minute hands. You got the stars that are like our years or seasons. And then we're on the face in the clay, just like every one of those clocks, right? Because we're tiny and you got the little hands above us.
Yeah.
That's the sun and moon. And it's like, why do they call it Father Time, Mother Earth? And then we have like, and it's like, well, why do you like these clocks so much more? I like them better than digital.
Yeah.
Because, I think it was owned by, God, such a simp. Owen's mom, I think the reason why she liked analog clocks is because she goes, you can't see where you're going if you don't know where you've been.
Yeah.
And that's what a clock does. It gives you the opportunity to kind of regulate and know where you are. And I love that. Like, I think that's so cool. And, seeing that people can't even read them anymore. It's like, dude, a sundial is one of the most old things on the planet. And it's like, we're going to lose that, but yet we're more sophisticated and more technologically advanced. Come on.
No, we're dumber. We're not smarter. That's a whole lie. We think we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel great.
But we're trying.
Yeah, we're trying. But... Well, hey, man, it was great having you. I appreciate it. Man, too. I was thinking to myself, I was like, I would probably like an hour.
I told you I talk too much.
Nah, that's good. You making my job easy. I hope all my guests are like you, man. I appreciate it.
I look forward to your next ones, man. I'm excited.
Hey, we'll see. I don't even think I have to edit this. I'm gonna try to. I got a buddy. He raps. Of course, he's black. You know, we know somebody that raps. Whatever.
Could have been Dominican. Calm down.
But nah, he has a dope song, and I'm gonna try to make that the intro. But I don't even know. I don't have the footage to put behind the whatever. So I might make a 1990s PowerPoint, early 2000s PowerPoint.
Just do a stale clip art for the first one. Who cares? We didn't. When we did our weekly one, we didn't even have an intro for I think the first 15 or 20.
Yeah. I think I want to look professional as soon as possible.
I got you.
Did you? Well, hold on. I'm sorry to keep it going.
You're fine. I'm here, man.
There's been some big people that say they would be on a podcast. I'm like, man, they ain't even put nothing out yet.
It's a talk. Do you ever think that maybe they just want to fucking talk to you?
Maybe
they ain't got no friends.
that's weird, but I'm going off again. That's one thing God has always given me. I've noticed that even when I was in the world, I used to tell people, strange people come up to me and talk to me for some reason. I know people that would tell me their secrets. I still have today.
It's weird.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know why they tell me this stuff they do, and they trust me with it, so I'm gonna keep it a secret. Or they're like, they trust
vibe, dude. It's like animals. I don't know what it like. Any animal, kids like me. It's like animals don't ever freak out around me. It's nuts. And it's like, well, why? It's like I think people can feel energy. When you're anxious, people get anxious. When you're angry, people feel anger. You don't even need to necessarily have it on your face. People can just feel it.
Yeah. It's a spiritual thing.
And I can feel it from here, man. I can feel it.
Hey, man, we've been on the same vibe. But hey, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Thousand Hat Club. It's my brother's clothing line. It means true hustlers understand survival mode right now. I am jobless. I am trying to understand survival mode right now because I am in survival mode. And he's my sponsor, but he hasn't paid me. So if you see this,
I owe you. I owe you.
Throw some money my way. Or if you want to sponsor the podcast, whoever out there, my one follower, whoever wants to see it, hey, holla at your boy. I'll give you a family discount at first until I blow up. Then I gotta charge. But what it is, what it is, man. It was great having you. Is there anything you want to promote before we leave?
No, I just want to promote your Twitter because what's this? A Red Dirt
Dialogue.
Now, what's your Twitter handle?
Duke Lucas, but at the top it says Red Dirt Duke.
There we go.
Yeah,
go see him on Twitter. That's because if you interact with him, you'll see me riding his coattails in the threads. So
it's all good. Wait a minute,
I want to see you succeed, man. I'm excited.
Your page isn't private, is it? I can't remember.
Nah.
No, okay. Yeah, I was like, because some people I was like, why is your page private? I want to share this stuff. But yeah, all right,
No,
man.
I'm just low followers. People are like, you're tweeting to nobody. I'm like, I'm tweeting to myself. I'm having fun.
Hey, that's all that matters. You're having fun. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, man. It was nice to have you. I know I've said it about 2 or 3 times already, man.
All good, dude. I enjoyed the heck out of this. It was real nice.
All right, man. You take it easy.
Yeah, good to you and your family. Bless.
Bless.